Hello, this is Jonathan Alston for All Politics Are Local. We are here tonight with another really great show. At 6 o'clock, we're going to have the Councilwoman, the Reverend Louise Scott-Rountree, come on and on the Disciples show. And she is coming in. Zaid is coming in right now. It's great. At 7 o'clock, we're going to have the Newark Public School Superintendent, Roger León, come on and talk about the new school year and all the things that are going on inside of Newark. You might see them on all these news broadcasts right now. They are talking about Newark being a high performing district. They are talking about like high graduation rates in the 90%, and also low absenteeism rates. And so these are like milestones, but we're going to ask some questions because a lot of people have questions. When I bring this up, people are like, how do we know that's true? What's going on with that? How do we measure graduation rates? How can we be sure about that? So we're going to ask him all those questions today. And he's been answering those questions actually on media across the state recently. So we're going to have a good conversation with him at 7 o'clock. And at 8 o'clock, we're going to have a conversation with Dr. Kelley Harris and Chris Duran. And they're going to be talking about Black August and the March on Washington, and Sunday's event they're having in Jersey City. And at 8:30, if you don't know, 24 Hours of Peace is going on right now in the city of Newark, and we'll hopefully bring you some news from there directly. Shout out to Goke, one of my students, former students, who will be performing there. He's an up and coming, very talented artist. Giving him a shout out for that. He'll actually be performing starting at 8:05 tonight. So we have a fun show tonight. We have an informative show tonight, and we welcome all of you here. Hey, Zaid, what's up, man?
All right. Where are you? You look like you're outside somewhere.
I'm outside. I'm outside. I figured that it's one of the last days. Every year we do a back to school episode with the
Of course.
superintendent,
Of course.
and we do that right at the end of summer. I'm a teacher, and I am getting ready to go. Yes, back to school. So school starts next week for teachers. School starts the week after that for students. And so, in tribute to school starting real soon,
You
I'm
doing some
outside.
last minute raid? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, let me say before we go any further, I want to shout out our longtime DJ Rhino. Him and his wife are celebrating their 25th, 26th wedding anniversary. And
Wow, 26
that's
years.
yeah, yeah. And given the madness that's going on in our community, that's rare, right? And I really appreciate them being able to do that and to be there for each other like that. And community needs that.
Right.
Healthy villages need healthy families and healthy marriages. So I'm really happy for that, for all of
Absolutely.
that, right? Let me
And
just say,
26 years, that's impressive, man.
yeah, yeah. And there's so much going on. And as you mentioned, Roundtree is going to call in. She's coming on her way back from DC, and she's actually going to 24 hours apiece, right?
Okay, great.
And Adema, Larry's going to call in. Larry Hammond's going to call in. I sent him the link. It's somewhere within that first hour. He should be calling in,
Okay.
assuming that they took care of their charges
Well,
on his
here's
day.
the Reverend Roundtree right now.
Yeah, I
I knew
did.
you were on the road, right? Like
Yeah,
every
well, I'm back. I just got back into Jersey. I'm on my way to 24 hours apiece. Where if I get there in time enough, I'm gonna have some guests on the show from down there. Watch and
Oh, nice.
see. Depends
Okay.
on how soon I can get there. Lord have mercy.
she was
I
one
don't
of
take your time. Take your
she is
time.
one of
Take
my
your time.
favorite one woman armies. Boy, she is look check her out.
Yes, yes. Lord have
Absolutely.
mercy.
On your
Uh,
way, tell us about the day so far. How did the march go? Kind
It
of
went
turnout, all of that.
beautiful. It beautiful. It was beautiful. So I first of all, good evening, everyone. Welcome to All Politics, Locals Disciples Show, America's number one hip hop. Wait a minute, hold on. Hey, Riley not on the show, huh?
not this week. He's taking this week
I
off.
got I got
You know,
the one and only Jonathan and Baba running the show today. Okay.
yeah.
So, um, 2 o'clock this morning, I woke up, got myself together, and went down to City Hall to see a bus of individuals off to the march. Went back home for a minute, and then got myself together to ride down. So I rode down with some individuals to Washington because I wanted to get back for 24 hours of peace kickoff, which is already kicked off. I had to get some faith leaders together, of course, an imam and a couple of other individuals to pray to get our show started down there, our program started for 24 hours of peace. But the March on Washington, I can't think of a better way to go into this weekend, commemorating the 63rd anniversary of something that Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King, A. Philip Randolph, Mahalia Jackson, so many individuals that played a part. But most assuredly, the visionary, the one who came up with the idea. We never, we talk about King in the I Have a Dream speech, but never forget that there was somebody who came up with the idea, the visionary.
A.
And I'm
Philip
really,
Randolph.
yeah, exactly. So we got to call those names too, because it gets lost. It gets a lot of times people that came up or that had the idea sometimes gets lost
Mm-hmm.
because the one
Mm-hmm.
who ended up being the one pushed out front,
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan,
Mm-hmm.
Baba, those folks that are out front that you see their faces all the time become the
Right.
face of the mission when it would have been no mission if somebody hadn't come up with the vision. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
so
Absolutely.
those
Absolutely.
I'm big on vision. I'm big on mission. I'm big on connecting the two. And I think that 63 years later, while we are um, talking about what took place down in Washington, and often you will hear me on this All Politics are Local platform talk about the Honorable Dr. King and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You guys have heard me say that so many times that I'm going to applaud Reverend Al Sharpton and those who stand with him in the son carrying on the legacy, because the truth of the matter is, we don't carry on. Like I'm talking to some people of the Muslim community, Amina Bay, whose mother um, led the women in support of the Million Man March.
Great
Uh,
friend,
it,
Jimmy.
it's
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
it's time to do something. I mean, it's time to like do something again. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
we do the commemoration and the King March 1963, but what have we done since 1995? I hear crickets.
Listen, yeah,
We're here. We're just listening to you.
No, no,
you're,
no. I'm not
We're
talking
just
about
listening
you.
to you.
I'm talking about you know, like do you know what? And maybe it hasn't been the time. Maybe now is the time. To start having that conversation. Like I said, I spoke to Sister Amina Bay, um, even at her mom's street dedication. You know, I
that was
want to see
beautiful and
us do
very well deserved.
something, something. We're going to need some movements. There is so much going on in this country right now to try to turn back the hands of times to set us in reverse. Well, listen. I don't even like the clock when it's fall when they say spring forward and fall back. I don't even want the clock going backwards. Right? I don't. I don't. That is something we do. But walking backwards is something, or going in reverse is something that I am not excited about anything unless I'm going back to get something good, something positive. The only time reaching back to help somebody to pull them forward. I mean, those are those things you go back for. But to go back or have someone force you back into a situation that you don't have to go back into, no, no, I don't. I don't want to do that. And right now, what's going on um, in Washington, what's going on with my sister, Congresswoman McIver. what's going on with, you know, I'm still trying to wrap my hands, my brain around someone in office that can be have 30, how many charges? 34,
It's
36,
not enough.
and still get to serve and do all the things they do, and they're coming after my sister like she
Like she's a
it's
criminal and she's not. You're muted,
so I
Jonathan.
so I
She is
want to lift her. I want to lift her in prayer. Starting
absolutely.
off this program, I want to lift my Rolly, my sister, in prayer. Nothing but blessings. I encourage her. I speak joy on the disciples in her life. She's with child. I pray that whatever the enemy is trying to do, that God reverses it on in another way, away from her. Uh, I'm praying also for the family of Ed Gittens, which was Verlena Reynolds, Verlena Reynolds, chief of staff. Uh, he transitioned, and so I want to send condolences. I used to call him Marvin Sapp when I would see him because he favored Marvin Sapp.
Oh
So we're
wow.
sending condolences out to Brother Ed Gittens, and also to the family of Wilbur McNeil, who was eulogized, big Essex County park advocate in this county of
Hey,
Essex. There,
McNeil,
there'd
you're
be
doing well though.
there'd be no track in Weequahic Park. Uh, there'd be no lake in Weequahic Park. He Wilbur McNeil was Mr. Weequahic Park himself. So we send condolences out to him, a true friend to the Baraka family, and a true friend to the city of Newark, the county of Essex, and the state of New Jersey.
Yeah, they live
Uh,
right across the street. They live right across the street on South 10th Street.
yeah, I
Right there.
know.
Long time. Long
Yeah.
time.
The
Well,
mayor spoke of how Mr. McNeil took care of the neighborhood as well and
mm-hmm.
the children in the neighborhood. So, a lot of our pillars are transitioning, which means that the responsibility of the path that they made fall on us to carry on. I mean,
Indeed.
like, we don't realize that some of the benefits and the privileges we have are because of these individuals that have gone on before us, Jonathan, that were here long before us. I know I speak of my mom and my dad, they were trailblazers themselves, but there were so many that came along. There were names that were called at Wilbur McNeil's homegoing celebration that I remember hearing in my household. I remember hearing Larry Stork's name, Pearl Beatty's name, Honey Ward's name, Calvin West. Well, look, Calvin West was Uncle Calvin to me, you know, Dennis Westbrook. These names were names, Louise Epperson. These names are names that people be like, who? Right, what? Where? Like during the University Hospital situation. Now, Larry Ham knows a lot of these stories. As you guys know, he
He
is,
should be on soon.
yeah, like Junius Williams. Junius Williams is the city's historian, but you put them two in a room, and you might as well open up your own historic Black History hall with the two of them. Um, on matter of fact, my Black History program on my program News and Views during the African American History month of February, I brought those two on to talk about. I thought that it would be fitting to have Larry Ham and Junius Williams on a show together to talk. And boy, was that some show.
I bet it was. I bet it was.
Yep.
Bet it was.
So, so the
I,
March on Washington has a lot to bring back to our memory of and open up doors of
I
open
don't
up
think that we like to your point. I don't think we recognize the importance of the times that we're living in right now. What's going on
absolutely.
with the congresswoman is actually historic, as in she
Dangerously
is
so.
being persecuted, not prosecuted. She's being
That's right.
persecuted, and she's being persecuted in a way that historically we will look back on and we will compare it to the political persecutions that have happened to our people within our history that we're all familiar with. And we understand it to be so. We've seen the video, we know the situation, we know that they arrested the mayor and lied, right? We knew that the
That's
Justice Department actually lied, caught lying, was lying so badly, the judge that threw out the mayor's case was repudiating them for the lies that they were telling, just making stuff up.
right.
Now, if they were just making stuff up and enacted violence to arrest a mayor on no real charges, right? Like if that was horrible, and in the process, they accosted multiple Congress people who were there, as in they almost
Yes.
knocked Bonnie Watson Coleman over.
Right.
They right, and they were pushing through LaMonica MacGyver to charge her with with assault is egregious, and everyone should be up in arms about that. The fact that it's gone through two judges and both of those judges allowed the case to go on is a failure of our justice system. It should not have gone
Government has
that far.
failed
They
you.
should have recognized what this was, and these are political persecutions, and for what? To push a policy of mass deportations within our communities, where people in our communities are literally getting hunted. Um, I think that when history books are written, she is standing up for justice, and standing up for justice for people who she doesn't have to stand up for. They don't even vote. They don't
Right.
vote. They won't vote for her, right? They won't vote.
That's right.
All right, they can't vote, but she's doing it because it's right, right? And she's doing it for the same reason we all should care. We all should be uh, uh, very vigilant and very adamant about how these policies are wrong. And the fact that we have normalized having people like just taken, kidnapped in our communities right in front of our face, taken out of cars. And this is happening all over Newark. This is happening all over Irvington. Just people walking around minding their business and being assaulted, taken out, dragged out. We're not talking about criminals. We're not talking about people who committed any crime. And they're being put in these inhumane conditions in these detention centers. And the one in Newark, three people have already died, right?
Yeah.
And this is what this persecution is about. She is standing up. She has stood up. She has said, as a congresswoman, her job is to be vigilant, and she is trying to be vigilant. Um, and like our community, when we fight for civil rights, we don't fight for just us. We fight for everybody because we believe in it as we believe in a different definition of what humanity is, right? We are all included in that humanity, and that's what she's fighting for. And that's why she's being persecuted.
And let us remember she's facing 17 years.
Right, right.
17 years.
And I
You
don't
know,
want to.
I ain't going to even speak that. I'm not going to even let that cross my lips. I'm because while we want to say what she's facing, I can't even imagine what the people that are doing this injustice, this horrific, these horrific decisions. I can't imagine and don't know what God has for them to face. I don't know. Uh, while we talk of what she's supposed to be facing, we 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 pray for mercy for those who do the damage that they do to harm and hurt.
Because they're uplifting and I don't think that many officials with official power, I do not believe that they fully understand that their first job is to protect the rights of the people who are here,
That's
to
right.
protect the rights of citizens and non-citizens, right? To protect people's rights, right? Like, and when people are literally being killed because of horrible conditions behind closed doors, and you think it's your job to further a prosecution of someone who's trying to stop that, someone who's trying to push back against those policies. Somehow
That's
you
right.
think your job is to go after the person who is pushing for mercy, for peace, pushing for a wider understanding of what human rights are. Um, I think I do have problems with that, and I do think that this is a severe injustice and a failure of our courts to take the issue of human rights seriously.
It's an indication of where we at this moment. And
Right,
it's I have spent 40 years, 40, fighting for the case of political prisoners in this country. I surely don't want no new ones.
I know that's right. I know
right,
that's right. I know
right,
that's right.
And
And
there's nothing criminal happened on that day other than the wrongful arrest of Mayor Ras J. Baraka. That's the
and
right,
only.
them assaulting Bonnie Watson Coleman, because to me that was
right.
an assault.
Man, I was
Trying to
screaming.
say
I was
knocked
so
her
worried
down.
Man,
about
it's
her.
an 80-year-old
Johnny
woman. That
Walker
was an
Coleman
assault
is
to me.
five
That was,
foot
I don't know what
20
any
years
of us would have
old.
done if we had been in that
Oh
circle.
my God.
Right,
What could have happened to her had me screaming.
right. Because they didn't care.
They didn't.
They didn't care. They didn't care. Right. They were doing something illegal when they were grabbing the mayor. They had no basis for that. It was rooted in lies. Now we already know this. We already know that what they were doing to the mayor was rooted in lies, thrown out of court, laughable, right? Like if it weren't so sad, it would be laughable. We have all the videotape that knowing that they literally lied, trying to say he broke in and was going in against their will. When he was let
Well, you
in,
know
and he was
what
let
though?
out, right?
But you know what? Like, let me just say this. Like, I don't like my mother used to say, believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. Because
Right,
sometimes the way things appear might not be what they are. So unless they thought half of what we saw was not what we really, really saw, like the facts are, the guy opened the gate and let him in. Like he
right,
did not. He,
Right.
right.
he was leaving. He had
He's
left.
leaving. That's right. He
He
was on his
left.
way out.
He
He
was on the
had to
other
say what he
side of the gate.
Right.
Y'all
And they
drug
went
him back
out.
in.
They went out on Newark property. Like they're federal agents that went on Newark property to accost a federal representative, two federal representatives, and the mayor of that city.
Crazy.
can't make this
Like
stuff.
they could have set off something so horrible because when they're on city ground, they're literally coming and getting in the way of his bodyguards, his police.
But it
You know,
also
like
goes,
like like that was just dangerous on their part and reckless. And if it weren't for the cooler heads of the people who were in Newark who were working that day, it could have gotten much worse.
it goes to show you what type of racist.
I think that
Yeah,
you froze up.
yeah, I think she
Oh,
froze.
it just goes to show you. I didn't freeze up. I didn't it because of what I just witnessed with a young lady driving. But what it just goes to show you very clearly and vividly that we're living in a completely not just white supremacy has a place of its own, but racism has is showing its true vivid colors, which black ain't included.
And these things, it's wild because the current effort, right? What separates this administration from the first Trump administration is this second administration is full of people who have been plotting and planning to destroy the 1964 Civil Rights Act, the 1965 Voting Rights Act, and the 1965 Immigration Reform Act, right? Those are the three pieces of legislation they
That's
hated,
right.
and with Heritage Foundation, the other organizations that were put in power that were created that were created in the 70s and the 80s, right? So they have been working on these things for a long time, and they had within the president someone who empowered them to be able to push the policies they wanted to destroy those three things because there's a group of white people in the United States who actually believe that replacement theory is real. And replacement theory is that black people and brown people are going to replace white people. Uh, our immigration policy was
If we
changed
would
in
use our power, we would
1965.
already have them replaced. The problem is, there's too many of us that have power, can be in power, but are silent with the movement of what our power could really deliver. So,
Mm,
I mean, like either we're fearful, we're bought, we some go in the room and all they do is make arrangements and deals for themselves and forget about the people that sent them in there in the first place. Once you get where people are just walking out in the middle of the street. But anyway, I'm being very, very careful and focused. However, yeah, it's very important, very, very, very important that
like,
we realize. You hear Larry say it all the time: power to the people. Well, it's not just that it's power to the people; it's that the people have the power. Either we abuse it, we misuse it, we lose it, we give it away, we're silent about the things that matter, as Dr. Martin Luther King says. You know, and it says if you're silent about the things that matter, you know, then why even come up later trying to? Now we got a problem
right,
because it's in my backyard. No, it wasn't. Didn't matter. You had nothing to say when it was your neighbor or when it was the lady down the street that just or somebody's son found hanging. That wasn't your son. Do you realize how many hangings are now becoming vivid? Someone sent me a
All
picture.
being brushed aside as suicides. That's
I'm
just
right.
trying to tell you.
fishy. Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to tell you. It's
Lynchings
it's
aren't always
creeping.
public. It's some they're
It's
underground.
creeping up, but it's creeping. It's
Right.
coming. It's creeping. It's not like on every block right now, but it starts. It starts in every state, then it starts in every municipality, then it starts in every county. I'm sorry, I'm going backwards. Starts in a few municipalities, and before you know it, it's in a few counties. Before you know it, it's in a few states, and before you know it, across this country, you're finding our young people. Anyway, I don't even want to. We're talking about some real sensitive, real life issues right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think it was the officer that shot. What's the officer that just died?
Is she breaking up?
You're breaking up. We couldn't hear the last thing
Oh,
that you said.
you know what? I'm downtown Newark. I don't know if that has something to do with it.
She
But
breaking
did
up.
you
She
guys
got
hear?
You're in and out. Like right
tell
now, we can't hear you.
tell her to go out and come back in.
You might want to try going out and coming back in. Yeah, try going out and then coming back in.
Yeah, 'cause she was on a roll.
And now you're kind of on the frozen side. I think when you get out of that particular spot, you might go back in. Sometimes there are dead spots.
Sound like she's saying she's just getting downtown.
Yeah, I think she's getting downtown.
And who knows what kind of interference she might be getting from around this around
That's
the
true.
stage.
That around the stage, that is true. That is true. That is true. I will give it to the councilwoman. She is the most on the go
Incredible,
councilwoman.
incredible army of women.
Like uh,
Wow.
right, she's always on the move, and
Well,
you wouldn't know this, but she had my sister and I were talking, and she was like, "Does she still have those heels?" And she walks in those heels,
nine
and
out
she
of ten
walks fast. Yes, right. In heels, walks quickly wherever she go. She was walking up some stairs at City Hall, like just took those stairs, and I
That's
was
right.
like, "You go, councilwoman. You go, councilwoman." She's really on. She's really on the move, right? Really on the move.
It can multitask like no other.
I
That's fair. That's fair.
I am
Whenever
not
she's on the
responding.
gotta
show,
see where these are
she
going to
got a
let me.
camera in one hand.
Where's this stage?
grabbing people to interviews. Like, here, talk to this person. Talk to this person. It's
Yeah, I
great.
thought she was going to be on the bus and passing the phone to everybody today. If she
Oh,
don't get in
true,
the
true.
car
Where's
coming
the?
back.
Where your driver at?
I drove myself today. But the stage is where?
I have no clue.
Isn't it on Market?
I'm at the Prudential, so I don't know what's going on.
Oh,
Market in Halsey.
Hold on.
Yeah, Market and Halsey.
it's Market
You know
and
where the stage is at?
Halsey.
it's
Market
at
in
Market and
Halsey.
Halsey, so it's
Yeah,
over
we're talking
here.
about
Halsey.
24
Okay,
hours
so
apiece.
you even go around
24
here
hours
or
apiece
around
is
the
on
other way? Where
Market
you
and
want to go?
Halsey, and it's hip
Yeah,
hop
they
for
gotta let
24
me
straight
cross.
Yeah,
hours.
he gonna let you go. I'll let
They've
him
got
go.
All
some
right,
So you
great
gonna
thank
go
you.
that way?
artists
I'm gonna go
who
this
are going to
way.
be there, and you should come out for that today and tomorrow from 6 o'clock to 6 o'clock, 24 straight hours. And
24.
started, yeah, started many years ago to have 24 hours where the city can celebrate peacefully. A
I
beautiful
think this is year
concept.
26.
Shout out to
Okay, can you
uh,
guys hear me now?
Hakeem Green. Yeah, we can hear you very well.
All right.
We can
Yeah.
hear you very well.
It's crowded down here now.
Did you hear us? You going to Market in
It,
Halsey.
I know where at set. I'm looking
Well, you can see it now.
for.
You can see where the stage is now.
There's another stage down here because they're doing a movie thing on Treat Place. There's
Oh,
another.
okay.
Oh yeah, they for my cousin.
Tree places that folks don't know is that short street uh, behind, it's in between
Shay,
Branford Place and
Follow
Shay,
Showing.
and voting
Oh,
by mail.
I love
Come
you
on,
too.
Shay,
All right,
stop that.
Justice. I
And
love
voting
you.
by mail.
That's my cousin Justice. Okay, I'm back.
and so
Hey,
I ain't seen
It's
Justice.
always a nice. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we
yes,
can.
yes, we can hear you.
She probably can't hear us now. See,
Oh, can you hear us?
yeah, she can't hear us.
We know that you are definitely on the move.
I'm just trying to
Yep.
figure out.
So
We got so many people on this lineup. I'm trying to see if I can pull up a lineup on that.
on the a lineup for 24 hours.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw the MC Light flyer. Some of
Right, because
everybody.
MC Light's going to be there
Yeah,
tonight. Is MC Light going to be there tonight or tomorrow?
I don't know. Right.
Yeah, we are remiss because we really should have had that
It's
lineup.
the wrong
Yeah,
And
way.
Hakeem Green has been
I
front man.
can't be there.
Hakeem, our bad, right?
Yeah.
Because he's been on our show for the last few weeks,
MC
and he
Light
has
is
been
tonight.
absolutely promoting it. So MC Light's going to be there tonight. Who else
Yeah,
is going to be there?
yeah. A whole lot of folks that that me and my John
Listen,
Coltrane worked
I
from
don't want to
behind.
get stuck. So I was following. But if I park over here, will I be able to drive out when I get ready to leave?
this. I can't tell the future, but most likely you'll be able
Cause
to.
y'all ain't blocking all of this, right?
This is all going to be blocked, yeah.
So how does if there's an emergency, how do people get out of here?
If there's an emergency, we can escort you out. Sure.
Okay, the stage is over where?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's right here. It holds
That's
the
the,
mark.
that's the stage, yeah, right.
Right, that's what I'm
So
trying to
MC
get
Light,
to.
who else is going to be
That's where
there tonight?
everybody's going to. You can try to find
Brother,
Well, I
parking
know one
close.
person who's going
I
to be there
am.
tonight. One person is going to
Okay.
be
But
there
I know
tonight is
Brother
Gokez.
Jay from X Clan is
it's
gonna be
already
there.
it's a
Who's
lot
going to
of
be
people.
there?
I just can't
Brother
get blocked
Jay
in.
from X Clan.
You want this? This
X
will be
Clan?
open.
That's what I
This
mean.
will be
Okay.
open
Well,
tonight.
I'm gonna park so I
Fleet,
can get out of here. Okay. Oh, I
X
guess I'm
Clan, who
back,
else?
huh?
Freeway.
Yep, you're back. You're back. Hello?
Go ahead, Ranch. You got it. She muted herself.
Oh, you muted yourself. Okay, that's cool. All
Yeah,
right, so who else? What's the lineup tonight for
that's a
24
brother
hours apiece?
Jay, Memphis
Who?
Bleak. Brother Jay used to be with X Clan.
Okay, speak a little
Memphis,
louder because into the mic you seem like you're a little far away.
you can't hear me? Oh, now that's a
Now we can
problem.
hear you a little more.
Big
Now we can
mouth.
hear you a little more. Just
Right?
speak
Yeah.
a little bit.
Um, Let me look now. That's a brother Jay who used to be with X Clan, Memphis Bleak, Freeway, MC
Memphis
Light.
Bleak is going to be there?
Yeah,
Okay.
DMC,
Wow,
DJ
DMC is going to
Battle.
be there.
Right? It's
Oh, that's right. DMC is there.
yeah,
From
yeah, yeah,
obviously
yeah,
from
yeah,
Run
yeah.
DMC.
Yeah. So it's it's a whole lot of heads gonna get down. And a bunch of folks on the local front that I don't know.
Goke
Right?
is one of them. Goke
Huh?
is going to be there.
Queen Moore on the there's a spoken word segment for tomorrow.
Okay.
early in there. And Queen Moore, I think, is curating that. She's performing, right? And I would imagine our poet laureate is going to
Oh,
be a
Mia
part of it.
X.
You know, the great Mia,
Yes.
right?
Love Mia X.
Yeah, there's a bunch of folks, and I would like to think because he's been quiet and he gets quiet when he starts doing his DJing. I don't see it on the paperwork that I'm looking at, but I would expect DJ Midi Mid,
Yeah, you know he will be
i.e.
there. He's one of the
Miracle
sponsors.
Walker Jr.
He's one of the
might
original
be one
sponsors of
of
the
the
event.
DJs getting down. Absolutely.
Right. Right.
Of course, Midi helped start this whole thing
Yes, he
uh,
did.
over 25 years ago.
Wait, 25 years.
Yeah.
Wait, stop.
No, I'm sorry, I'm wrong.
No,
It says
like
I thought it was around 2000. I thought it was around
it's
2000.
close. It's not 25 years ago, but it's a while. Like
It
I
says
think it must
beginning
be
16.
over
I'm looking
20
at a
years now.
release that says beginning 16 years ago. And I thought it
Okay.
was more than that, right? Uh,
2010 sounds right.
yeah. But we also should say, and she couldn't get on it tonight, but
I'm back.
yes, man, she
Yay! Oh, and
I
you
changed.
sound great.
I changed phones too.
Okay,
Um,
that phone is
sounds
great.
a
I
lot
love
better.
that phone.
Yeah,
yes.
All
So
right.
yeah. So hello, sweetie. Come and join me on All Politics and Local tonight. Tell them who you are and what you're doing.
Hello, good evening, everybody. My name's Shakira. I'm out here, one of the partner organizations out here representing for 24 hours of peace. We out here just making a peaceful connection.
Give them your name.
Shakira from Broken Wings Still Fly, a mentorship and North United Assembly Financial Literacy School.
I
thank
All
you,
told you,
right.
Shakira.
you're on the road with Councilwoman at large, Reverend Louise Scott-Rountree, who has just arrived at 24 Hours of Peace. I am excited, excited, excited. We've been talking about some really. I love you, baby. I'm ready for the stage is right here, right? I'm going to walk right here in a minute. I just, all right, I'll be there in a minute. I just wanted to make sure that we touch on some very sensitive and serious issues because we don't share this platform enough. We need to take this on the road enough. I'm going to have Ed Riley Baba and Jonathan Alston on Channel 78. 8 Rebel Squad had me on their show, and I'm going to bring them because people that have iPods and Facebook shows, it's one thing to have all of that, and that is great, but the exposure for some of the topics that we discuss, like nobody's talking about what's going on in Newark Public Schools and how Superintendent Roger León and the staff and the principals and how things have been elevated in the educational system of Newark Public Schools. We talk about so many negative things, but when things are positive, do we highlight them? Do we spend a lot of time talking about them? I started off talking about giving condolences. I started off talking about what's going on with my sister. But the rest of this show needs to talk about the positive things. That Newark is number one in the country, with violence being at an all-time low. Okay, so
That's right.
it's like those are the things we should be talking about. And then we got receipts and facts. People can derive and come up with all types of things to determine how they want to move forward and what narrative they want to give. Well, guess what? I don't want to hear just everybody's story. I want facts and not just your knowledge. Because I tell people all the time, you might know a thing, that don't mean it's a fact. So
Right.
you may have the knowledge of a thing, but that don't mean it's the truth. You just know something, but is it the truth before you
Right.
share it? I might know that my mother and father started a church, but is it a fact? Well, yes, it is. Why? Because there are receipts to show. I might know that my mother was the first African or one of the many African Americans in the city of Newark, first female, they say in Newark. But the knowledge of knowing that, and the fact is, do you have history,
Mhm.
receipts, something in writing? Are you a witness to these things? People traveled with Harriet and met Frederick. Those were witnesses. So they can talk about it. There were some witnesses that traveled with Jesus Christ, and they call it the Synoptic Gospels. There's 4 Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Well, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they tell their story, and some of these stories are similar, which means that they're similar. They've all, some of them experienced the same thing, told it a little different. but they were witnesses. And then there were some disciples that didn't witness some stuff, right? So like Paul didn't walk with Jesus, but Paul was one that killed the Christians and was converted to then stand up for Christians. So we have to be very careful of what we share, because sometimes based on our status in the community and in society and government and in faith, we share stuff. People hold our stuff like they be like, yeah, that's the truth. Like
Right.
that we can get on the platform and say anything about, oh, she knows what she's talking about because she involved. Not necessarily so. And if you want to show somebody how big a fool you really are, like they might think you're a fool and they might think you're ignorant, but open up your mouth and don't know what you're talking about, and somebody do know what you're talking about that ain't so. And you will have confirmed the fact that you are a fool and ignorant. Right?
That is true. That is true. That is
So
absolutely true. Like I don't know. Like I part of why I do this is because I believe in civil civic discourse. I believe in making sure that um, people can get proper information that we need in society, right? And especially at the local level, we need to be able to know what's going on, because if we don't know what's going on, if we don't know what policies work or don't policies don't work, we'll be liable to sell our water, right? That almost happened in Newark.
absolutely.
We almost sold our water supply. Almost
Yeah,
sold our whole water supply,
yeah.
right? Almost gave our whole water supply to private corporations. What? Less than 20 years ago, right?
No,
And
there was a couple of instances where the water. Listen, everybody want to say, Cory Booker and the MUA, but Mayor James had a little simp with the water as well.
oh,
Oh yeah, go know your
I didn't
history
know
now.
that.
And Ron Rice, and a couple other folk, stepped in the middle of that. And I'm not gonna go into all of that right now because this isn't that show. But get your history
Okay.
together and find out who was doing what with water before Cory Booker even what. Listen,
Oh,
before he even did
we
the
got to do a
MUA.
story about. We got to do a show about that where you just talk
Oh
and tell
yeah,
us what you know.
oh
These
yeah.
histories are important, right? Because I thought the first person who tried to literally sell our water supply was when Booker tried to do that, and
Well,
it
I
was
want to
only
bring you
one
guys
vote.
on my stop while we're talking about the water. I want to bring you guys into an establishment here in the city of Newark. All Politics are Local is just visited Mr. Todd's Pies on the corner of
Ah,
Branford and Halsey Street. This is Mr. Todd. I'm going to give him the camera and let him
What
talk
you got?
about his business.
Answer
Oh,
what he
who am I talking to?
hello.
All politics are local. America's number one hip hop
And that's
chocolate.
just what you want us again.
How's everybody doing this evening?
Right
We
on.
are doing well. We are doing well.
Tell us what you got. What you got in the oven. Talk to us.
Councilwoman Roundtree, I appreciate you bringing me in. As she knows, this is my passion. So I'm not just here passing time. This is what I love to do. And more importantly, I love being in the city of Newark right now because some great things are happening. And as I look into the camera, you got to excuse my eyes because we're going to be open 24 hours. And I'm feeling it right about
Wow.
now.
Wow.
You're
Yeah.
gonna be open 24 hours selling pies?
Yeah, because look, they got 24 hours apiece at Newark. Yeah.
Oh, you got to show us some of the
No,
pies,
that's
man.
Barbara Zaid, Jonathan Alston, Ed Riley is the producer. All Politics are Local. It's number one hip hop. I've been on for like 8 years, and my show is called The Disciples.
Yeah.
Myself, Minister Haqq Muhammad, which is representative of the Honorable Minister Louise Scott-Rountree.
Sure.
Brian Ali used to be my co-host in transition. His wife was our other co-host. But now we're on the road with the Disciples and All Politics are Local. And I just stopped in because I bought my car in front of your shop
Wow.
for you to talk about this black-owned business
Yes.
and what made you feel that Newark was where you needed to be.
Yeah, I told somebody this story earlier. I'm the kind of guy that if you say, Todd, you show up every Friday, I'll give you $1,000. But if you do this, you do that, you get a chance to make $2,500. I'm going for the $2,500 every time. I don't want the 1,000. I don't want any guarantees. I want the opportunity to control my own destiny to the extent that we can, because I was just brought up that if you don't believe, nobody else will believe. And so when we do all this bad stuff you see behind me, it's
Oh,
look at
going
that.
back to the pies.
Oh yeah.
All these baked goods. You got sweet
Yeah.
potato pies.
And we make them right here at the corner of Halsey and Branford in downtown Newark. You can see the Prudential Center from our front door. And Newark is the place to be right now. And Halsey Street, where we are telling people that Halsey Street is the new Ferry Street because there's so much activity on Halsey Street. And it's amazing.
And you're going to be open for 24 hours. So if I come there at 2 o'clock this morning, I can get some pie.
You can get some pies, and you can get an apron because we'll probably need some help. Yeah. Hey, look, 24 hours apiece calls for 24 hours of baking.
Straight
You know
up.
what I mean? And more importantly, I try to do whatever I can do to support Newark because without the city of Newark, I wouldn't be in business. So I'm more than appreciative and grateful for being here. And so anytime I can support, I will, you know?
Todd, tell us about your specialties. What's your specialties?
Well, most people say sweet potato pie because that's what we started off with. But I tell you, our carrot muffin is out of this world. Chocolate pecan is my personal favorite. But, you know, as I tell people, Michael Jordan, he was able to hit the jump shot. Joe Montana wanted the ball when the game was on the line. I just feel like this is my blessing that somehow the Lord made me know when to stop when it comes to making recipes. And again, this is not something I've been doing the last 5 years. I've been doing this ever since I graduated from the University of Richmond. And that was a while back. And I've always had this entrepreneurial blood in me. So I tell people either I'm on to something or I'm crazy, and I haven't been admitted yet. So it must be the latter.
All right.
I mean, you name it: peach cobbler, apple cobbler, apple crumb, French apple, carrot muffins. He's got this thing called the sweet potato, North Carolina jumbo yams, souffle. It looks like a souffle. Apple cobbler, blueberry cobbler, pecan chocolate, and traditional pies.
Those cobblers.
Love good
Nice.
coffee. Love good coffee. Now, you know, y'all getting me nervous now because I got to shake the sugar.
Just custard.
Yeah, that's a custom. Got the lemon and the chocolate.
I don't do the chocolate custard. I do the lemon.
Chocolate custard.
I never even tried the lemon.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna spend some money while I'm here because I'm not just gonna just park here. I have my favorites. Now, I've never tried the cherry cobbler. The blueberry cobbler is amazing, and I never was a blueberry cobbler person, but the blueberry cobbler. Let me just say this: I just lost 23 pounds,
Okay.
and I'm very happy. So I can treat myself to Mr. Todd's at least twice a month, at least.
That's okay.
And drink plenty of water, you know, to flush the sugar, because it's okay. If the Bible says it's okay to drink, but don't get drunk. The Bible says it's okay to drink, but don't get drunk. It's okay to eat some sugar, just don't sugar overdose. Okay.
Right. That's right.
Right.
If you're gonna overdose, you might as well let it be Mr. Todd.
That's right.
If you're gonna get your sugar fix,
Yeah,
on the
but
corner
you know what
of
it is?
Halsey and Branford.
I'll say this to you, and people always say your pies are not that sweet, and they aren't, and that's intentional, because again, these are recipes I've been working on for the last 25 years. So maybe about 10 or 15 years ago, I said, you know what, this is good. Stop there. And I think that's the key, because one thing I can promise you, if you get a sweet potato pie today, next year, or 10 years from now, it's going to taste exactly the same.
Because you know all that processed stuff, the shelf life. So when you start going commercial, a lot of times what I notice that people will start out baking in their home.
Yeah.
Once they got to sell it to ShopRite, you got to put preservatives in for the shelf life to sustain it.
Yeah.
So what we're not going to do is sustain these products because they're naturally made. I'm going to support this business, and I'm going to make my way down Halsey Street to the stage before our show ends tonight.
It's going to be a busy night.
It's going to be busy. So I just wanted to stop with Mr. Todd. I told you I was on the show with Councilwoman Rountree. We're going to bring the director of the house.
There should be a show that you do that's just on the road with Councilwoman Rountree. Like this.
Yes.
This is you.
Into existence.
This is you. Now, Councilwoman, good Reverend Councilwoman. We have a hard stop at 7 o'clock, which is 8 minutes away.
Well, let me get this out. I got some announcements to make. I cannot not make these announcements As you know, 24 hours of peace is happening today from now until 6 p.m. tomorrow. Come on down. The gospel pieces tomorrow morning. Today, there will be music. There's an awesome lineup. You can go to social media and see that. Following the 24 hours of peace on Sunday at Chosen Generation on Hudson Street, there will be an all-day festival of book bags, food, worship.
nice.
That's at Chosen Generation, 145 Hudson Street. Bring your kids. They're going to even be doing baptisms on the street. And then also at 9 a.m. the same day, Tiffany Morass is doing something. I'm going to post all this stuff on my page so you can see it. Or I'll send it to you, Baba, so you can see these events and make sure
Yes,
they
ma'am.
get
Yes,
announced.
ma'am.
On September 1st, I'm doing a Anchor Senior Freeze seminar for seniors that just turned 65 or don't realize they can do some savings, have savings. I'm doing it in conjunction with Assemblywoman Tucker at Good Neighbor Baptist Church. Senior Praise Anchor Program. You can sign up. I'm going to send you that flyer as well, Baba. That's September 1st from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. We have so many events going on. So I'm going to send all of this stuff to you as soon as I come off tonight so that you and Jonathan will have this information to share with our audience on tonight. It is such an honor to be a part of the disciples. I want to see our audience grow. I want to see our program go. You have many guests that come on, and I'm looking to expand the platform for many people. I want the director of the health department to come on. I want people that are doing community activism to come on outside of just us and those who we're so familiar with, because there are people that are out here doing the work that are behind the scenes, but nobody knows their name. But they need to be given a platform for a moment, just so folks will know that some of us didn't do it by ourselves. Some of
Right.
us are not able to do it all right now. We just had a celebration of Nat Turner, the only park in the country named after Nat Turner. No, we don't want to stand on the fact that somebody did what he did. I stand on it because the courage of a Black man to do what he did. Listen, I do not sign off on killing nothing. I have a problem with my son when bugs would come around. But the truth of the matter is, every day we're being killed. Our spirits being killed. Our children are being killed. Not just our spirit and our children. They're trying to kill our programs. They're trying to kill our voting rights. They're trying to really kill this stuff. They're not just trying to eliminate it for a moment. They're trying to reverse it, that we have another 100 years before we can get it back to what we fought for in 1963, 1964, and 1965. So it's a voice for the voiceless. That's what we better all become. And we just have to wait, I know, for God to continue to create prophetic voices, Brother Jonathan. But our children are going to suffer as a result.
Right.
Our children's children are going to suffer. They'll be talking about what Dr. King did, but then the new narrative will be, well, he did it, but what happened now? We used to be able to we're fighting just for Washington not to have our social security numbers, and so they can control the movement of the voting process. We in Washington talking about defend our vote. We shouldn't have to defend nothing that God gave us free will to do.
Right.
We got to defend something that belonged to us. We got to defend our God-given right. We got to defend what is our right as a human being, even though you want to consider us one. We was human enough to build the White House. We was human enough to take care of your babies. Matter of fact, we was even human enough to nurse your daggone babies. Now in 2026, we are the worst of the worst, and you want to kill us dead? Spiritually, emotionally? I don't know. Let me come on back. It's 6:57.
That's all right. We understand the sentiment. We're going to have a lot of shows that are on just the politics of now. I don't think that many people realize the concerted effort that the second term has made to literally target the Voting Rights Act of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and the Immigrant Reform Act of 1965 as those things they thought as a large threat, and those things are being deliberately targeted. Even to the point where we had a little history lesson of how Woodrow Wilson purged the federal workforce in the 1913s, right? And he purged it of black people. Black people had been working largely a lot in the federal workforce as a result of Reconstruction. And in 1913, when he came to power, he was like, enough of that, and literally purged the workforce of black individuals. And we saw a similar thing happen last year. So
That's right. That's right.
in terms of
Right
districts,
on,
right?
Jonathan.
Like so we see how these things happen. So Councilwoman Roundtree, uh, we understand where you're coming from, and also thank you for respecting the time uh,
Yes,
that you
sir.
have.
I
Now,
really
question:
wanted to take
Can
you guys with me to 24 hours apiece. I'm
but
about 3 minutes
you
away,
but you
but I
can still
gather.
DJ Mitty
but
is
are
on the
how
stage,
late
by the
are
way. I'm watching it.
how are you going to be there at 8:30?
Yes, I will.
Can you come back on at 8:30?
I sure will.
Thank you,
There it
because
is.
I
that
love you,
that is
Brother
excellent.
Jonathan. God bless you. Thank you for joining the disciples. Giving homage to Brother Ed Riley, to my beautiful sister Kim. Hope you're enjoying their time away from our uh,
Yes.
our show tonight. Thank you, Brother Jonathan, for being who you are. Thank you, Baba, for always being who you are. Once
Yes,
again,
ma'am.
thank you for joining the disciples tonight. Where all politics are local. And let me say this: we are so thankful for this platform. Looking forward to seeing you guys at 8:30. Thank you again. Talk to you later. Power to the
Talk to you
people.
later tonight.
Power
Talk
to
to
the
you later
people.
tonight.
Yes,
Power
ma'am.
to
Power
the
to the
people
people.
without delay.
Power to the people. God
Right on.
bless you.
God bless you too.
Now, Adema was supposed to jump on before 7. I don't know what happened. I might have got distracted.
Okay.
DJ Mitty is on the stage because I got it on the other this other computer here, the one that that don't show my ugly face. Yeah, it does the screen. But I guess it's here. So let's go ahead and go into this next hour.
So, welcome, Superintendent Roger León. Welcome to All Politics Are Local for another time. This has become a tradition. This has become a school's getting ready to start. And so we speak to the Superintendent of Newark Public Schools, Roger León. Welcome back to All Politics Are Local.
Well, good evening to you, Jonathan, and to my brother Zaid for being absolutely incredible. Yes, it is the start of the next school year, so I'm making a number of rounds throughout different talk shows, different TV shows, just to impress upon everybody the incredible work that has been completed, the incredible work that is ahead, and just major accomplishments. So I want to thank you for obviously always having me on and for doing the incredible work that you are doing. I would be remiss if I didn't say I was so proud of Reverend Roundtree, but she made me a little hungry. I might be stopping in a little bit.
Go down to
Okay,
Halsey
so
Street to get some.
right, at Halsey Street, right, right. So, thank you, very much appreciated. And the let's start off with the first recent rounds of the big news, right? There's some big news that's coming out of the district. You are making the rounds, right? Like you are on all the talk shows, and Newark has recently been declared again for the second year in a row a high performing district. Now, I want to like anytime I say Newark has been designated by by the New Jersey Department of Education as a high performing district, every time I say that, people are like, they don't believe me. They don't believe what it means. They say, what does it mean to be a high performing district? Does it have anything to do with test scores? So, let's talk about this. Let's unpack this for all the listeners, for the audience. What does it mean that Newark was declared a high performing district? And is that something that is a big deal? Because a lot of people are like, that's not a big deal. They don't really, they're like, kids still can't read, there's stuff going on. I mean, they're just negative when I
Yeah.
say it.
They
So
live in
what is
their
it?
own lie. They live in their own lie. So listen, it's extremely important to understand that what happened on July 1, 2026 is historic for a number of reasons. This is the third time that the district has been deemed high performing under local control. The first time was to actually receive local control, but there was a waiver. The second time was after a 3-year review where we always knew instruction and program was the Achilles heel of the district. There are 5 categories that all districts in New Jersey must successfully meet 80 points or higher in order to be a high performing district: governance, instruction and program, personnel, finance, and operations. Those are the 5 categories. And so the high performing districts that people think, Livingston, Milburn, in Essex County, that's right. The same criteria that they are reviewed and are distinguished is the exact same thing that happened to us last school year. For months, we were under review on these 5 areas. And on July 1, the commissioner announced to the State Board of Education and through everyone in New Jersey that, in fact, we met the 80 points in each of those 5 categories. Actually, more than 80 points in all 5, with 100% in the area of finance, which means our fiscal house is clearly in order. The reason why this is a big thing is because this is how districts are judged. And I want everyone to remember that the way that we lost local control was because of these categories that we weren't successfully, or at least it was claimed that we weren't successfully meeting them, hence justifying a state operation. Does it mean that test scores are increasing? Exactly. Does it mean that there are multiple indicators that are at play that the district is distinguishing itself? Absolutely. Not only that, but unlike the last time where we were under review for every single year because of instruction program, our next 3-year review occurs 3 years from now. So we successfully completed in 2027. Review does not occur again until 2029.
So what you're saying, and let's just be clear, Newark being declared a high performing district by the Department of Education is measuring Newark by the same standards that it measures Milburn, that it measures Livingston, that it measures all of these other districts across the state of New Jersey. It
I
is
would
the
just
same
clarify.
metric.
I would just clarify that I said Milburn and Livingston because I know both of those 2 districts have met the 80 points or higher in those 5 categories. I didn't say all of the districts in Essex County because all of the districts in Essex County did not meet that 80 points or higher. Not only in Essex County, but there are the other 20 counties in New Jersey. We're saying that the district is in an incredible place, and there are other districts that are working extremely hard to also get to where we are. So it's about performance, it is about how we're growing, and we're doing both.
Mhm. So, and again, right, there are other districts, even in Essex County, that are fighting to get to where Newark is. And these areas include testing, they include finance, they include attendance. Can you break down how they how do they get these figures? Like where they come from? Like how are these things reported?
Sure. So all of this you can actually find not only on the state's website, but on the district's website as well. In each of the 5 categories, we undergo an extensive review. So it is not only student achievement, but it's also student growth. You already mentioned attendance. You already mentioned chronic absenteeism in particular, graduation rates. The whole idea that lesson plans are completed by teachers, they get reviewed. The whole idea of the governance structure, what does the board do, how is the board being held accountable, is definitely one of the areas that we're extremely proud of, because for a number of reasons, the board members who volunteer hundreds of hours of their time go under some scrutiny that not that they're not capable of handling the scrutiny, but that they overcome incredible barriers to really impress upon the community that actually we are moving things along, that we are actually doing very, very well. And it comes in the light of having to deal with people who are selling another narrative as if we were stuck in some other part of the 21st century. We are actually not the same district that we received during state operation. And we're definitely moving aggressively forward to transform the district to something far incredible than what it is, more incredible than what it is right now.
Graduation rates. Oh, Azai, do you have a question asked?
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead. You got it.
Graduation rates. There was a new figure that came out about our graduation rates. Can you tell us what they are?
Yes. So we just reported it last night at the at our public meeting, as we're all school districts are required to report several indicators of progress. Graduation rate is one of them. So our graduation right now is at 92%, which is 2 percentage points higher than what we recorded last year. Jonathan, it's extremely important to highlight. We will be announcing what is the graduation rate of our males of color because of the incredible work of the Council of Great City Schools. Those are the 81 largest urban school districts in the country. There's a study that has been occurring prior to our incredible involvement during my administration with the council, and we're going to be announcing what those percentages are. And it was hovering a year ago right below 90%. And we're able to get it to 90%. We've accomplished an incredible task that is one that is of great concern to all superintendents in any district, but definitely in urban districts across the country. The graduation rate is a very difficult accomplishment to get at 90% or even higher. It does not mean that only 92% of our students graduated last June. In fact, everyone who graduated in June. The governor's formula, which was adopted by Chris Christie when he was governor, and a significant number of governors throughout the country, that is called the governor's formula. It's not our governor's formula, it's the formula of the governors. And what it requires is once a student registers in your school by the October 15th count, you're responsible in keeping all of those students' records, where they go, their entire accomplishments for 4 years' time. We know that in Newark, we have the highest mobility rate.
You stepped out and you just talked about the highest mobility rate. What does highest mobility rate mean? What is that? You said Newark has the highest mobility rate. What does that mean?
What mobility means is that when a student enters in school, are they the students that are tested in the spring? So in New Jersey, all state testing occurs in the spring. When you look at mobility, you're looking at the fact that the number of students who enter in school aren't necessarily the same students that are tested, because the percent of the students that leave during the course of that time period is high. Well, when I was principal at Dr. Horton, our mobility rate was 54%, which meant more than half of the students that started in the year didn't end in the school year. That creates significant problems because the 10-year historic strategic plan that we've outlined has clearly shown us that students who stay in Newark do better than the students who are in other types of schools, whether it's another school in Newark, whether it's another school in New Jersey, whether it's a private school outside of the district or from another state, that the students that stay with us do far better than those who have not been with us for a duration of time. That doesn't mean that new students don't do well with us. We move all of the students, as was indicated from the Harvard Stanford report, that there's 1.23 percentages of growth per year in the city of Newark as it relates to academics. And we're extremely proud.
Okay. Now you just gave us a lot in a little bit of time, right? You talked about multiple studies. The first thing that you were talking about is with mobility, and that you mentioned that Newark has a high rate of kids who start off at a school, right, and then they leave that school, and that the graduation rates are actually done from the time a child enters the ninth grade, and that school has to follow like where they go, right? So you're talking about from 9 to 12. So the graduation rates are, if you, of the people who got to you in ninth grade, did they graduate from high school? Is that how that, is
Did
that
they
what it is?
graduate from high school 4 years later? So there are some students that graduate 5 years later. That counts against a school district. They must graduate within 4 years of high school. Watch this, Jonathan. They have to be clocked in by October 15th. So here's the confusing part. A freshman gets clocked in, meaning that they're registered and counted on the October 15th count. On October 16th, they leave. The Newark Public Schools, that high school is still responsible for that kid graduating from high school, even though they're no longer our student. And so the way that that gets determined is where did the student go? So
Right.
there's a lot of work that has to go to make sure that we've guaranteed that not only we know where they went, but that they actually graduated. Watch this. During ed reform time period in like around 2015-16, we were having students go to all of these GED programs in Newark. They were all getting high school diplomas that way. The district had the lowest graduation rate. Why? I asked the state, this doesn't make any sense. The students are getting their high school's diploma. They're saying yes, but those are not approved programs from the state. So part of what we're doing is making sure that the students stay in the high schools that they are, because ultimately we're held responsible and accountable for them. 92% is absolutely incredible. But I want to distinguish that between the confusion that does occur where people go, oh my goodness, the students didn't graduate. That's not true. It's the students that have left us, that their status needs to be found before the June of that graduation year. If not, the school district who has that student is responsible.
So it's really more complicated and actually more difficult than I had originally thought. Because you're talking about the 92% graduation rate is of every freshman that was a freshman 4 years ago. 92% of the people who entered school in their freshman year have graduated from high school.
So you have to understand this, Jonathan. Not only are you correct, but any other new student that entered and was registered and counted on October 15th. So that means a sophomore that came in new, a junior that came in new, a senior that came in new, and was registered and accounted for on October 15th, this district is responsible for them. So while we have close to 3,000 students that graduated, our number of students that have actually met the graduation requirement is far higher than the students that marched.
Do you know roughly what the total number is? Because that seems like it would be a much higher number than the 3,000 that graduated. It seems like
it absolutely is, and that's what occurs. The number of students that actually graduate becomes the numerator, and then all of the students that were registered by the October 15th count over the years is the denominator. And so when that occurs, that's what then triggers the kind of graduation rates that we have. So in, let's say, an affluent school district where students move in and they are not mobile, then there's a likelihood that the student that was there in ninth grade is the one who graduates in 10th grade.
Right.
In urban cities, we don't have that luxury. We have people who are making very important decisions. Housing is good here. The conversation that you all were having a little bit before about housing and have always had on this call is integral to what are some of the issues that do complicate things. I say complicate because nothing is impossible. We're in Newark, New Jersey. Everything that comes our way, we are worthy of modeling for everyone the greatness that we are. I just want to put things into perspective. That's why I love this show, because you give me the opportunity to make sure people actually understand what some people out there hide behind and then insinuate that Newark is inferior to someone. We're inferior to no one.
Now, one last thing with this graduation rate, when I mentioned that Newark has a 92% percent graduation rate, or a graduation rate in the 90s, someone was like, "Oh, that includes charter schools, right?" Does this number include charter schools?
And now, when I report information out about the district, I report it about us. The only reason why I mentioned, um, you know, Essex County is because we do have a number of affluent school districts. We also have our sister districts, which are districts that I work integrally, aggressively, intentionally with. In particular, Irvington, East Orange, and Orange. When I'm talking about districts that are not meeting the state requirements, I'm not referring to those districts. So the idea that the affluent districts are not meeting these expectations finds a great interest in the back of my mind as to why are people now saying don't use the criteria that Newark has been judged by. I say everybody has to be judged by whatever is the criteria. And when we make changes because they're good for everybody. No one was saying when Ron Wrights created this whole entire process, may he rest in peace, this is unfair to Newark. People are saying it's unfair to them now. I can understand that because we've only lived it for a good almost 30 so years. Ultimately, right now, it's kind of humbling for people to have to compare themselves to us because we think that's a great thing.
Now I get what you're saying with that, but the question was more specific. The question was the 92% rate you're talking about. That's Newark public schools,
Oh
like the
yeah.
Newark public
So
school system.
I'm sorry.
That does not
Yeah,
include
yeah.
charters, or
Right.
okay.
So I'm sorry. I thought I did answer it. That whenever I report on student achievement data, I'm only reporting to about the schools that I govern over. So I have 42 elementary schools. I have 5 specialized schools, and now with New Media High School, I have 19 high schools. I'm only referencing that data. When I reference somebody else's information, it's just to do a contrast because people have a tendency to think that the school districts that aren't meeting these expectations are districts that look more like Newark, where students are Black or Latino. That if there are white students, so there must be some socioeconomic status that is so negative for their realities that they're disadvantaged that way, as well as with their counterparts. I wanted to address that. The idea that 92% is only of the Newark public schools, I definitely want your listening audience to be aware of that.
Okay. And the flex that you were doing is that Newark is not only having 92% graduation rate, uh, it is also doing better than some suburban districts that are in Essex County.
Yeah, in Essex County, listen, we're subjected to it. I'm talking about avid districts. We're all working hard at making sure that wherever our school districts are, that they're moving. There aren't superintendents that I'm aware of who are talking bad about us. In fact, we're talking to each other to understand that the work that we do is so complicated that if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. But what is easy are people who get on, whether it's social media in particular, and just blast us and talk about nonsense that has absolutely nothing to do with the reality. They're telling a story that is supposed to appease their respect. Either it's gaslighting in particular, is actually blowing smoke because people actually believe some of that. When politicians talk about other people, they are really doing that because they have no way of helping their own respective communities. And our strategy is to work collaboratively with each other, to have partnerships with our elected officials, like I have with the mayor, with our city council, with obviously state legislatures, and obviously those that are doing the good work for us in Washington, D.C. It's about working together, not trying to create division amongst any of us.
There's another figure that you lauded recently, and those were attendance figures. Uh, what are the current attendance figures and why are they historically significant as well?
Sure. So so there are two figures. The actual average daily attendance is way above 95. I believe it's really about 96 percent. We obviously shared out the data last night, and then the chronic absenteeism rate. Let me tell you, last school year, when I say last school year, I'm talking about the year before. So the 24-25 school year, our chronic absenteeism rate was 10.5%. This year, which would have been last school year, 2025-26, is calculated at 8.5%. A couple of things. This is extremely significant because we know that more students coming to school results in more students doing well on various indicators of progress. So what's the big change between the year before and last year is quite important. So the state has definitions that they utilize to calculate chronic absenteeism. In Newark Public Schools, we look at all of the students because all of the students are extremely important to us. That means my pre-K 3-year-olds, my pre-K 4-year-olds, kindergarten, every grade below age 6, and every grade above 16 years old. So we have 21-year-olds that attend our schools. All of those, because of the academic program that they're in. And just as a footnote, Jonathan and Zaid, is important to know that a 21-year-old didn't finish high school at 4 years after high school. So the district gets penalized by the state of New Jersey for every student that is in the 19-year-old, 20, 21-year-old programming. Not to jump back on graduation rate, but I've made a plea to the New Jersey Department of Education that utilizing that as a criteria only penalizes a district that is worrying about their most what I call them, the children with exceptionalities in our district. And those are factors that negatively impact us, as opposed to my recommendation, which is utilize their 21-year age to determine when they actually graduate based on the cohort of their age would be the best way of holding districts accountable for students that are in their 21-year-old program.
Because because they are graduating.
Exactly. They do graduate. Right. They actually graduate on time. There's a 100% graduation rate of all of the students that are in the 21-year-old program. But the district gets penalized because they didn't graduate in 4 years, because graduation is 4 years. It doesn't take into account the educational program that a child who's in a transition program that goes from 18 to 21 actually really deserves. And it is an unfair way of penalizing them and the district. But on the chronic absenteeism piece, one of the important factors is that the state of New Jersey is saying, don't look at the attendance of every student. This is why the attendance, chronic absenteeism of districts is greatly improved from the previous year to last year. Let me explain why. So the districts previously looked at how many students attended school for 45 days or more. That was the group of students you looked at. Of those students, how many of them were absent? 10%, which in New Jersey, 10% would be 18 days or more. So 10% of whatever is of that allowed is called membership. So to get the chronic absenteeism low, we have to make sure that the students that enter into our schools remain with us. What the state did for last year's data is require districts to look at students who were enrolled for membership at least 90 days. So they've increased the opportunity for more students to be absent from school and not counted by districts. So
it's a higher standard.
It's a lower standard that they're using.
Okay.
They're using a lower standard. They're saying only count a student that has been in your school a total 90 days.
Okay, fair.
Only count those students who were out 10%.
Okay.
As opposed to count any student. For example, if a student is in a school for 30 days and is absent 18 days, that district, based on this rule, that student isn't counted as a chronically absent student.
Okay.
In Newark Public Schools, that's not how we do it. We actually count that student as chronically absent. So the Newark Public Schools is using a different standard
A higher standard.
when we report out in the public. We report out pre-K students. There are districts in New Jersey, based on the state standards, that none of us would they count pre-kindergarten students. And we know 3 and 4-year-olds, parents really don't clearly understand that in the 31 Abbott districts, a 3 and 4-year-old is required to attend schools. The fact that students pay for their pre-kindergarten program in other districts is not a reality in the 31 Abbott districts. It's definitely not a reality in Newark. So when we report out chronic absenteeism, we look at all of the students. When the state does it, before last year's data, they were looking at only 45 days of membership. Now they increased it for 90 days of membership. And that has helped the districts that were doing poorly do better. And a district like us, who is doing really, really well, we get 8.5% as a result of that new calculation. So districts that were doing well benefit greatly from the change in the definition by the state.
Now, I want to just jump back to something that you talked about earlier. You talked about a Harvard-Stanford study that said it looked at kids who entered into the Newark Public School, and it said that kids who enter into the Newark Public School and stay in the Newark Public School are more likely to do better than kids who leave. Can you explain what that was?
So yeah, the study that recently came out looked at how were students learning post the pandemic. And so you figure if you go to school for a whole year, you should improve for a whole year. That's not the national average. The national average is about 1.06 or so. Districts that are similar to us were growing at 0.88, so a little less than a whole year. In Newark Public Schools, we grew 1.23 grade levels in a year. So it's extremely important, only because it had been mentioned by 2 people. And if they, for some reason, are watching this, I want them to be very, very clear that the district started at a very low place. The idea that we were able to go a whole past 1 year is what the story is. It's not that we're better than anybody. It's that there were some intentional strategies that were implemented in Newark Public Schools during that time period through right this minute. Transitioning in particular on particular grades are things that we're perfecting, and that's demonstrating the type of growth that is very, very interesting to researchers, because there's a formula of a strategy that is helping students much faster in Newark than in other places. Be clear, while the student achievement data clearly suggests where we were, the fact that we're moving fast is an indicator of where we're going. The AP results that just came out is a clear indicator of the incredible work that is occurring throughout the years as we look at AP potential of students from the middle grades through high school. We have an inordinate number of students that are passing the most difficult of exams, that being the advanced placement exams.
Talk to us about that. Some people will say you're just must just be talking about the magnet schools when you are talking about AP programs. Is this also true for the comprehensive high schools in Newark?
Absolutely. So yesterday we reported out in the data as what we historically do on AP scores. On September 3rd is convocation, where I bring the 8,300 employees together and I highlight a state of where the district is based on not only last year's data, based on 5-year trends, which is what I usually do. And then I focus on what's the landscape ahead, because obviously we're implementing a 10-year historic strategic plan, and we're entering year 7 this year. So the whole idea of what we're doing, the magnitude of the accomplishment is worthy of all of these discussions that we've actually have been having as it relates to this. I don't know if you knew this, but the data, I don't report data and go, hi, this is Science Park's data. I report what is the average of the achievement of the district. And what I love when I do that is that people then ask the type of question you asked, because they have no expectation of students in Newark. There is no difference between Science High School and Central High School. That's why they partner together and work together. There are students at Eastside High School that are getting into Harvard. There are students in my new schools that have gotten into Brown University. There are students in all of the high schools that are getting in record numbers to HBCUs, unlike ever before. I have students that are getting into our private schools, which, as you very well know, it is very difficult not only to get into a private school, but the funding that is associated with it. In record numbers, over $270 million in college scholarships just for the class of 2026 this June. And that includes
$270 million in scholarships?
Over $270 million. And that's students from Barringer, Central, Eastside, Shabazz, West Side, and Weequahic High Schools as well.
I was at a convocation that you had, and it was featured that you have these scholar athletes at Shabazz who are going to Princeton and Stanford.
Well, I'm sorry that you're shocked by that. So Justin is one of the most incredible human beings on the planet. He's an incredible track athlete that graduated from Malcolm X Shabazz High School. And Zaynab McDonald has a full ride to Stanford. He's our second student to have a full ride there. Omari Gaines was our first senior 2 years ago. We did have a third student that Stanford wanted to get, and he thought Stanford was getting too much attention of Newark, so he decided to spread the greatness of our city in yet one of the most distinguished D1 schools. These students are doing absolutely well. For anyone who's having an issue with any of it, I can understand. Listen, do you know how much it costs to go to Princeton? Do you know how much it costs to go to Stanford? Do you know how much money people pay for that? And we have students that are getting in because academically they are strong. The head coach at Stanford is not going to take a student from any city in the United States of America and say, play because you're an athlete first. He takes students. He takes students from Newark, and he says, "You're the kid who's going to help make Stanford better." That's what we're doing in Newark Public Schools. Justin, let me tell you, he's already at Princeton, and Princeton has become a superior institution because Justin is walking on those grounds already. Princeton, I think in one of the reports, was the top top college in the country, in the world. Yeah. And it just got better because Justin from Newark, New Jersey is attending it.
Nice. Now let's start. Now, Zai, do you have any questions to ask?
Keep rolling.
Okay.
Can I say something to him? I love him.
Absolutely.
I just think he's such a great person, and more importantly than that, just an important historian for us. And I know there have been conversations that we've had in the past about, what we really need to do to really tap into his genius. Our students will benefit greatly from that. I mean, Jonathan, you already know, and you always say it as a disclaimer, you're one of our best teachers in Newark Public Schools, one of the
Say that.
best students. Even though you ask tough questions, I expect nothing less than that from you. So definitely, working with you all, this opportunity, showcasing the district, is something that I value greatly. But I do think that there are other things that we probably could do to take advantage of that we'll figure it out into this school year.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Now, the district scored 100% in the financial category for becoming like a high-performing district.
100 points. 100 points.
100 points is just a perfect score, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So let's talk about some of the controversies that are there and coming forward. There's talk of investigations. There are accusations by politicians in different parts of the state that want both statewide and federal investigations into the finances of Newark Public Schools. What's going on with that? Is Newark Public Schools being investigated? Who's doing the investigating? And what are they investigating?
Sure. So it's really important just to contextualize all of it. The district, clocking in just last year alone, a little over $1.6 billion. Because of that, we're always being audited. So auditing isn't something that's new to Newark Public Schools. It is something that we actually welcome. We welcome it so much that there's an independent audit that occurs every year of Newark Public Schools. And for the last 6 years of our return to local control, we've been under local control through a transition plan in 2018, July 1, 2018. But we didn't return to full local control until July 1, 2020. So from July 2020 to now 2026, every single one of the years, we get an unmodified review of all of our finances with zero findings with regards to things that we need to really be doing, adjusting, or improving on. There's always opportunity for us to reflect on particular practices, things of that nature. It's something that we do granularly. We are constantly looking at what we're doing. We're self-reflecting on what it is. We are understanding that people may not necessarily understand why we're taking particular actions. And so we love the opportunity to obviously be explaining those. In particular, there have been definite audits that have come, in addition to the ones we're used to, on a couple of interesting matters, both on the state level, no doubt. One of them is just questions about a consultant that had responded to an RFP, a request for a proposal, and the expense was a $1.4 million if she would have gotten the contract. And so a bunch of things could be true. There's a proposal that was before the board. The board said move forward with it through a unanimous vote. All of those are true. What is also true is that, in particular, the reporter who did all of the Oprah requests and then gave it to the politician, they all knew that there was no contract because they asked for the actual contract and there was no contract. Then they asked this consultant. They found her. I don't know where she was, but they found her. I guess they had a lot of free time. And so she says to them, when they asked her, hey, did you do any work in Newark? She told them no, based on what they've reported, no, that she didn't do any work. So they concluded she must have had a contract where they paid her the $1.4 million, because in their heads, they justify nonsense. And then when she said she didn't do any work, they concluded that she got actually paid for that. I don't know what Newark they were thinking about. It's not my Newark. It's not the Newark that I've attended as a student or as a teacher, principal, or in my current.
So what you're saying, I know we talked about this the last time you were on the
That's
show.
what that is.
And yeah, we did talk about this the last time you were on the show, and I'm surprised that this was still being an issue, because apparently the reporter never asked the consultant if they were paid, and the answer would have been no, I wasn't paid, and that would have solved it, right? Like, because there was no contract, although money was approved to spend, like as in you would spend it on this if you gave the contract, because there was never a contract, no check was ever cut. So it was, and the way it was explained the last time was, you approve things tentatively, as the board often does. You approve, we're going to spend this much on spending on X, Y. Here are the possibilities that we can spend it on. And then you have the actual expenditure of money that happens. Those two things are different things, right? And they just never.
There's always a not to exceed clause. So if it says $1.4 million, as was the example here, it always says not to exceed $1.4 million. There's nothing that said, like our catering, the application that the vendors applied for, it says not to exceed. There's not one person who is ever going to, one vendor who's going to get $1 million or $2 million in food service. I mean, I eat a lot, but that's not what we're eating in Newark Public Schools.
And so what they're doing is they're literally misreading complicated or not so complicated budgets, right? Like,
you say
if they knew anything about it,
you say misreading. When they asked the question and they said, "Where's the contract?" and we tell them there is no contract, that's not misreading. That's misleading. That's actually taking and being grossly negligent in everything that you do. It is boldly being a liar and then sharing it as it was true, and then having gullible people believe in the leadership of the people. You know, people listen to reporters and people listen to elected officials. So the idea that there is an audacity to get information that is tentatively true and then concoct it to tell a story that isn't true, there's some liability there.
It should
be. Right, like, because that is a way that they literally are, in that case, they would be knowingly misrepresenting the truth. If they understood that there was zero contract and they interview the person's like, I didn't get paid, like, they'd ask the question, then they're literally reporting a fiction that is fiction, right? Now, are there investigations still happening because of this?
Absolutely. No, we weren't even done on this one. Yes. This one is focusing in two areas in particular, that and, we did a report on tutoring. So if you remember, Harvard did a report, a study that said attending tutoring 3 times a week was the right dose to impact learning loss. And so we reported out in the public, and we generally always report out in the public very important information. And so we reported out that, hey, this Harvard's research just came out, and attending tutoring 3 times a week is the right dose. And then we shared, this is the average number of students that are doing that. That number was low. It was my attempt to say, we're not following Harvard's guidance. We need to make sure that more students are actually going to tutoring. We need to make sure that they're actually attending it, because the fact that they are not going for a dose 3 times a week, it could be one of the factors as to why kind of the achievement wasn't moving as fast as we could. They took that report and said, kids in Newark aren't going to tutoring. That's not what we said. The whole idea that we had thousands of students going to tutoring is a reality that was occurring before the pandemic. The reality of the pandemic afforded us dollars to really hone in on this. And so we had every student able to attend tutoring. There were students that we looked at that we were like, based on the research, these are students that are going to benefit from that 3-day experience. And so we went into the public to be open and honest to say, hey, we need to make sure these students are coming to school. But for them to take that report and create this story that now no student was coming to tutoring is such a bold-faced lie that all I could call it is a bold-faced lie. So that's one of the audits that's under review, and we're hoping to continue to answer whatever are the questions and move that right along. The other one that's quite interesting is one where we've had state auditors for 22 months in Newark Public Schools, and they have finished reviewing everything. It was supposed to be a review for the year 2023-24. By the way, independent auditors found that that meritorious budget award was earned by the Newark Public Schools at that point in time. Also, by the way, we had scored a 100 points on the QSAC review that occurred at that point in time. But what do those numbers mean? Ultimately,
just question with that.
Yeah.
So in that year, in the same year that the state investigators are investigating, you received a 100% by QSAC and an award from the state. But
award from ASPO, the international organization that focuses on finances of school districts all throughout the country.
Oh, so it's a national organization.
Yes.
that gave you an award. Independently. And so you have an independent national organization giving you an award. You have 100% passing on a statewide QSAC. Who are these state auditors who have been there for 2 years? And are they with a different division? I just, I don't understand.
These are state legislative auditors. They're from the legislative branch. And they do reviews throughout the state. I just find the whole idea quite interesting that it was like coupled at or about the same time period as the same ridiculous scrutiny. It just gives the appearance as though somebody was listening to a couple of people and thought that kind of putting it to us made sense. So the review is done. They will be publishing their report soon. We get an opportunity to respond to it. I find a number of things that they write about to be quite interesting, to say the least. And when that all comes out, if you want to have me back on, even though I know we usually do something just at the start of the year, I'd love to go into the report's recommendations. We take everyone's recommendations. I have parents who make recommendations. I have teachers, essential staff members, principals. I have everybody making recommendations. We review all of them. We take them all seriously because anyone who cares about improving Newark Public Schools is making a recommendation that is important to me. That includes the state auditors as well. We respect the fact that they spent 22 months with us, that they learned a lot about what we were doing, that we appreciated the opportunity for us to talk to them so they could better understand any questions or misunderstandings that they arrived with. And we're hopeful that they left with a fundamental, clear understanding of what we are, who we are, why we are, because that's who we are.
I'm very much, we'll definitely have you back on when other stuff comes out. And we definitely want you back on. One of the reasons why that we have these conversations and that we have to focus on some of the things that have been really good in the district is so that people can put things in their proper context. And they can, Newark has over $1 billion budget. There are some people who are very happy about that. There's some people who are not, right, throughout the state. And I think that that story is one that has to be explored and has to be thoroughly explored. We need to know what we have. We need to know the policies that work in the city of Newark.
I just want to add, it's quite interesting that when particulars own the purse, that they were good with that. So the idea that we're under local control, the idea that we've made accomplishments unlike ever before. We've made accomplishments that have not been made in Newark Public Schools since the 40s.
Decades.
Right.
That's right.
So the idea that we have accomplished things, there are incredible people like Eugene Campbell, our former superintendent, Dr. Marion Bolden, who have conversations with me, have had conversations with me about our progress. They see themselves in the evidence of what we're doing. That's because they see the superintendency as a baton passing exercise, laying the foundation and building from it is what we're doing. And we're trying to teach everyone that that's what local control is, that it is us governing us and us holding each other accountable, obviously always, but also fundamentally understanding that if we are actually making progress, to honor that, to be proud of the work. You can be proud of the work and still have high expectations, but don't have high expectations because that's all you're having, because you don't like the reality that we're actually exceeding them, because in many instances, we're doing just that.
That's right, says the homeboy from Newark. Tell him. That's right. You know how to hold yourself accountable. Have you talked about convocation and everything, Superintendent?
First of all, I love you, Miss Donna, to pieces. When I saw you come on, I was like, well, okay, my night is going to be good. So convocation is on the 3rd of September. That's when I bring everyone together. I did mention that. I'm going to be showcasing some of the incredible talent in the Newark Public Schools. It is going to be incredible. And I do want to take the opportunity to remind everyone that the first day of school is September 8th. I need students to school into school on time. Doors open at 8:15 for students to walk in. They can arrive prior to that time because before care is available. The school day ends for students at 3:05, and we have aftercare starting on the first day of school. Before care, aftercare at the elementary schools. All our programs have been active during the course of the summer, and obviously school on the first day, the 8th of September.
And when do teachers report back?
The teachers report back. You need to know the answer to this, Mr. Alston. On September 1, teachers start at 8:10 and their day ends at 3:10, with the understanding that if students are gone, they can leave when students leave.
Now, I know we don't have much more time, but I wanted to ask you this question. The deputy mayor always emphasizes vocational education, and one of the things, whenever we talk about education, one of his big complaints is there's not enough vocational education in the city of Newark. And he believes wholeheartedly that there should be vocational education in at least every comprehensive school, because people need to be able to work after high school. So they should not have to go to college for 4 years in order to be able to get a job or be employable. They need to be able to work outside of high school.
Or while in high school, right?
Well, so I love our deputy mayor, Haqq Muhammad, and he knows me very well because I was the principal of his son in high school. So let's talk about the point he's raising, because he's right. We need to make sure that there are opportunities for students who are figuring what they're going to do available to them. So first and foremost, we're making sure that we're preparing every student to be successful in college. Every student in Newark Public Schools. By making them complete the FAFSA, they're learning that they can actually get into college, and their financial situation today only gets better because changing the trajectory of where they go thereafter. Over $17 million we have paid in college courses while students have been in their high school. To date, over 6 years, Mr. Alston, 1,008 students have received associate's degrees because they graduated from high school before college. So I wanted to...
Wait, 1,008?
1,008?
1,008?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Look at that number.
So they graduated from high school, not just with their high school diplomas, but with associate degrees.
I don't like correcting you because you are a brilliant man. No, they graduated from college first before
First,
they
that's right.
because college graduations are in May. High school graduations are always um, in June. But
That's
to
right.
the point, are there students that say, I'm not going to go to college? Absolutely. We love that because we want to make sure the students choose what they want to do. But we don't want them not to be ready if they choose that which was different than what they thought they were going to choose from the start. So let's talk about the reimagined trades program in the district. At Barringer High School, we have carpentry. At Central High School, we're one of the few high schools in New Jersey that actually has a dental hygiene program. At Eastside, we have a TV and production course. At Shabazz, we have a cosmetology course. At Weequahic, we have allied health services. At Westside, we have entrepreneurship. At Newark Vocational, we have culinary arts. At Fashion, we have fashion. At Data Science, we have cybersecurity. At Architecture, I have plumbing, electricity, HVAC. At Global Studies, we have the offerings of Chinese and Arabic, so that if they want to be linguists, they can actually do that. The whole idea of what we're doing is different than what we've ever done before. We have with the trade institutes provided incredible opportunities that students are going to high school during the morning, going to the trade school in the afternoon, and getting internships as part of the process. We have students at AIM, which is this program over at Teterboro Airport, where we have students that upon completion of the 2-year program actually get hired to be mechanics at either United or at any one of the private airplane providers at Teterboro Airport, earning a mere $80,000 per year. So the fact that we have reimagined our programming is extremely important. In partnership with the mayor, not the deputy mayor, but the mayor, we're offering a police academy at Barringer and at Shabazz. We have a firefighters academy. Both are the 2 new programs that we're opening up this September in the city of Newark, and we're extremely excited to be working with law enforcement and our firefighters who will be part of the ones teaching the classes to the students, as well as making changes to the layouts of our schools so that we can actually provide training for our actual officials as well as training for our students. New Media High School, that is the other side of the camera. I can't leave out the fact that we finally got EGOT status at Arts High School with Michael B. Jordan getting the Oscar. So what we're going to do at New Media High School is the opposite of what this is. We're going to do TV production. We're going to do social media. We're going to be focusing on lighting, on sound, on the what I call the other side of the camera. Arts High School, Eastside, and Barringer High School all focus on acting and singing and drama, what's on one side of the camera. New Media High School will have cameragraphers. They will have photographers. The whole idea about the media is what that school will be focusing on. And the host of vocational programs that are going to come out of that high school will be absolutely incredible for our students, given that where they will live is at the old Dayton Street School, which is the home of where Lionsgate and Great Point Studios will have the first of 6 stages in the South.
Yeah,
So,
Superintendent, that's what I was going to ask you. Are you going to, with the theaters, with the TV studio, the movie studios being right here, could we possibly see like Newark News or the camera following you, all of this, you know?
Absolutely. Instead of like cameras following me, at some spots, I'll have them do all of the spots so they can see everything. The whole idea of what New Media High School will provide is in partnership with Entertainment Industry Foundation out of California. They've opened up a school in LA. They opened up a school in Queens, New York, and they have agreed to work with us in the city of Newark to have the 3rd media type high school ever. It's going to live the first year at Bard Early College, the old Camden Middle School, while we make while we repair Dayton Street School for this school the following year. So it's opening up this September, but it'll move to the new location next September.
Now, I know that we have passed the hour, and there's really more that I want to ask you about. I'll just give a basic shout out. There was a partners meeting that I was at in this spring, and it was, to me, it was surprising that there were so many different people who are working with Newark Public Schools. Everyone like from fire and from the police department to various corporations, including I believe it was Apple, Microsoft, to the producer for the Fugees, giving professional development at Arts High School and producing a child in terms of singing. There was public-private partnership after public-private partnership. Um, is there anything that you want to highlight from that?
Absolutely. The idea that we're creating a sustainable organization within the Newark Public Schools is the transformation of the school district. But I don't want people to think that that means self-sustaining means we don't need anybody to assist us. That is not our reality. Anyone who wants to become better at what they're doing, we want them to work with us. We don't want people working with us because they think you need help. We're Newark Public Schools. We know we need help, but we don't need people that are going to work with us because that's all they think we can do is need help. We're here to create a reciprocal relationship. It's one of our 5 core values in Newark Public Schools in this strategic plan. We want people to work with us who are going to be better because of the experience. And so we had the pleasure of meeting Captain Hobson at this last event. Maybe you have seen this incredible documentary on her life. Eventually, she becomes a United Airlines Black female pilot, and her strategy is to create 100 Black or Hispanic females of color in this industry. That's her objective. She began this summer with 14 of my young ladies in Newark Public Schools. We will be featuring this incredible work, not only at Convocation, but at the Convene meeting in October, John, as well as throughout the school year. This woman is on a mission, and we're extremely excited that she has selected Newark Public Schools to be the roadmap to providing the most incredible of pilots to fly airplanes in this country or wherever any of our students decide to go. So it's not about us needing help. It is about knowing that we're working with people who want to become better at what they're doing, and that together we grow.
And thank you. I know that we are a bit over time. It's your favorite hip hop artist. Is it still Ja Rule?
Well, before I wanted to say it different. You tell us who your hip hop artist as you tell DJ Rhino happy anniversary. Tell us.
I mean, come on. Let me tell you, I was cool before I became principal of University High School. But one of the things that happened at University High School is Ja Rule came there and it solidified it for the rest of time. My students at University High School are those phoenix that continue to be beautiful and rise. And Ja Rule's visit there just exemplified the greatness that is there, the greatness that was there, and the greatness that will continue to attend its school. It is the gem of the South Ward, and I was just so honored to be the principal there, to have met him so that he could see greatness by thine own very eyes was one of the best exciting experiences of my life. He's my go-to guy always, and he will be.
All right. Well, thank you, and we will have you back soon. And thank you for coming on All Politics Are Local again.
The number one political hip hop radio talk show.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you for what you do.
Let out move.
Take care.
Jonathan, you had like a daylight savings moment, and it was just sunlight out, and now it's dark out
Oh
behind you.
yeah. This the sun is setting in the west. It's beautiful sunset that I'm watching right now.
All right.
Well,
Professor
now
Kelley
we
is
are
in the building.
yes, we are on to our next section of our All Politics Are Local. Chris Duran, real nice to have you back. I just talked to Dr. Rivera today. She was helping out with our school, like our debate team as always. So at that, I will tell her that you said hi, or you can tell her I said hi. And Dr. Kelley, hey man, how are you? Welcome
Pretty
back.
good. How
Welcome
y'all
back.
all doing? Good to see y'all.
Good seeing
What's
you
up,
too,
Nice to
man.
Chris?
be
Good seeing both of you. Good
seen.
seeing both of you.
Cool, Chris.
Hey, Dr. Harris. I wore a Giants jersey especially for you.
What'd you say?
Chris, I can't hear
Turn
you.
the volume up, Chris, if you can.
Chris, yeah, your volume's way down. Now you're on
Now
mute.
you muted yourself.
I'm sorry. I said I'm wearing a Giants jersey just for you, Dr. Harris.
Okay, but you're
well,
still on silent. Like
well,
not
if you like
silent,
to,
but you're
if
very low.
he said he's
Like it
wearing a
sound like you in a,
Giants,
it sound like you in a subway, Chris.
Sound like
he
you trying
said he's wearing a Giants jersey just for me. So he likes to inflict pain to himself.
Because it's the
What's
Giants
up,
and the
brother?
Jets tonight, right?
Yeah, so I'm actually at this game right now. That's why.
Yeah, that's how
Oh,
you sound like, yeah.
Okay, you're at the game.
The Giants and the Jets.
Okay.
So, all right. Chris, you better have you a Philly jersey down there.
And look at him.
That's blasphemy.
No, I'm a Giants fan. I'm going to say Professor Kelley better have a Philly. He got one of my Giants players down there. When they split the team all up, you got one of our running backs down there.
We don't talk about that.
Well, we can't talk in Philly right now because the Knicks did what they did. So we ain't really making no noise in Philly about nothing.
Well, y'all got LeBron.
Yeah, you got LeBron
You
now.
got LeBron.
You got LeBron and Jalen. Y'all gonna have a
But
team.
we'll see. We'll see. But the Knicks got the championship.
Yes, they did. Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Jonathan,
we
where are
did.
you? Where are you,
Yes, we
Jonathan?
did.
Well, look, maybe
I'm in Newark.
LeBron will come down there and do a remix on the fish that saved Pittsburgh. Maybe he's
Oh
gonna
my
be the new
God!
thing.
Who's that? 1976. Who's that?
Oh my
1976.
goodness.
But
1976, yeah. Mhm.
Oh, Dr. Harris.
Chris don't know nothing about that. Chris don't know nothing about the fish to save Pittsburgh.
Chris, write that in your notes to research.
Right. Now, Dr. Harris, you do not know how joyous this whole region was that when the Knicks won. Oh my God, I can't. Game 4 was like a whole citywide regional celebration. Like,
Well, I ain't gonna lie. I would say Black Philadelphia really was kind of cool with it. We were all right with it because we like Jalen Brunson. We like Rick. I went to school with Rick Brunson. Not like I know him like that, but we went to same time at Temple, and of course the Villanova boys. So we were cool with it. We like it. Yeah. So
that's true. They won a championship for Philadelphia. They won 2 for Philadelphia, actually.
Oh, Villanova. Yeah, with Villanova. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we drafted Mikal Bridges, and for some reason they traded him on draft night. It was the dumbest decision they ever did. But anyway.
Okay, well, let's get back on to the actual subject at hand. And Zaid, do that introduction that you
Yeah,
just
sure. So ain't bring him on in and talk about no goddamn football or basketball.
No New York Knicks and Philadelphia basketball, and it's Donna's fault.
I'll take the
She started
basketball.
with the jersey.
It's always appropriate to talk about Dr. J.
Well, that is true. That is true. You're right.
When Colin Kaepernick took that knee August 14th, 2016, 10 years ago, and that big muscle-bound, 300-pound millionaire black-led players Association left him hanging. I ain't watched a goddamn football game since. I don't care
Right.
who's playing. But that's all right. Y'all do your thing.
I
But
was like, just ruin Chris's night,
this is
right? That's cold.
August.
He's there at the game, and what do you do? That's cold.
And Christy
Anyway,
Modell a hug for me.
well,
Oh
there are
man.
two sides to this conversation that we wanted to develop. One, Chris is in the field, has got some Black August work that he's curating that's getting ready to happen in Jersey City, and this is Black August, and it's a pivotal moment in terms of some of the historical highlights of Black August that I wanted Kelley to lean into. I mean, yesterday was the anniversary of the transition of Dr. Du Bois, right? And better than 100 years ago, 120 years ago, he came up with this incredible document that revolutionized urban social science called the Philadelphia Negro at UPenn, right? So I just thought I just put a pin in that and said, well, we got somebody at UPenn. Let's have this conversation, right? And of course, his death cast a shadow over the epic March on Washington that took place the following day. And why was that done on April 28th? Because it was on April 28th, 1955, that we saw one of the most grotesque, gruesome, horrible lynchings in the modern epic with the slaughter of Emmett Till. And we've got stuff happening again in 2026 that has marked parallels to what they were looking at back in 1963. So I thought it was important to have a look back at what I'm calling the March on Washington legacy conversation, and we tie it to what that means with Black August. Disaster capitalism. Tomorrow is the 29th, the anniversary when Katrina hit, right? And we've seen disaster capitalism make its moves through our community just recently, right? There are things to tie together, and I couldn't think of anybody better than these two young men to help us with that. So we're going now in this conversation. Kelley, you're the elder. I know you don't want to rush that, but you're the elder in this conversation, right? So you lead us into just how to begin to process this historical legacy that we want to talk about.
Well, it's interesting, and I'm interested in what you all think about today's March on Washington, and the type of traction it got, because I was thinking about it and thinking about the historical context and continuity or not continuity. And so when we go back and look at the 1941 March, and just wrestle with the factors that I think are different and that are important. 1941, of course, we're dealing with the World War II era. We're dealing with a Democratic Party that's in power, but fractured. The Southern Democrats are caucusing with the Republican Party, going against Roosevelt. So when A. Philip Randolph and other civil rights organizers and organizations organize and demand a Fair Employment Practices Commission, they're swimming upstream. They're going against a war. People are trying to rally around the war effort, but the key thing is that they were organized, that they had that kind of, they were able to push Roosevelt in a way that he did not want to go. Because again, he already didn't want to go against the Southern Democrats any more than he already had. So he was concerned about that, but they won. Not a big victory, but somewhat of a victory. 1963, the Democrats again control the party, the Congress, and the presidency. And again, the Southern Democrats are the ones you have to worry about, right? They didn't want to pass the Civil Rights Act, but again, the organizing that was going on the ground, the organizing that was happening in the South, the protests, all of the marches, all that stuff was working. So you get the Civil Rights Act of 1964 passed. When we come to today, I'm not quite sure the political pressure points that people are able to put on a recalcitrant Republican Party. And the Democratic Party is fractured, but for another reason, not for the Southern Democrats, but because of the internal, for the internal battle that they are having. So I'm not quite sure what the leverage points, pressure points that today's march will be able to put and on who. Is it the Republican-controlled Congress, or is it that they're just trying to get people motivated to vote and so Democrats can take control of Congress in the fall? But it's quite interesting to see where this is going to go, or to see what comes of this today's march. Because quite frankly, too, from what I understand, and I didn't follow everything, I didn't follow every speech, I'm not sure that people talk about the war in Iran, that people talk about Israel, that people talk about genocide in Gaza. I'm not sure that those things, they may have, I'm not sure. I know AOC was there. I know Bernie Sanders was there. I know Hakeem Jeffries was there. I know other activists and leaders were there. Janae Nelson, NAACP.
Dr. King's son was there. Dr.
King's son, yeah. So I haven't heard everything that everybody talked about. The snippets I caught, people were talking about voting rights, directed voting rights, and election. I'm not sure how much was talked about on the international issues.
You know what, Professor Kelley, you are, and Chris, Chris, you being younger than I, and then Professor Kelley, you working with students constantly. I was listening to the talk show on Saturday, and a young man who was probably about 30 he was actually in his 20s, called in. And he called in, this is on Urban View, and he said, listen, I'm not voting for anybody under 45. I'm tired of people talking about Social Security. I'm tired of, if we don't have somebody, that's under 45, that's running in 2028, I'm not casting my vote. And this was kind of like what we had heard somebody else say at NAN. Another young person got on the stage. And I want to know if something, to your point, moving forward, like today's theme was defend the vote. And I think rightfully so. What came out, in the last couple of days in terms of mail, voting by mail and things of that sort. When we hear young people, and and it's been a remark here, there, and I don't know how much that's resonating or what you are hearing, but I think even looking at, as I span through some of the pictures, it seems to me that this should have been something, and I don't know from an organizing standpoint, because sometimes in these economic times it's hard to get to. So wasn't there enough organization on getting people there? But I know for me, I'm a little concerned when I hear people say things like that, and they not understand, first of all, about some of our elders who are still here, who took big risks so that we can walk through ballot boxes and just vote and not get knocked upside the head or whatever. And at the same time, how things are constantly being rolled back. So one of the things I am most proud of, ever since I registered to vote when I was 18, I have voted in every election, whether here or not here. And I want that to be a badge of honor for a young person today, is that I registered and I continue, that no matter how big or small the race is, that I am a part of the process. And I know for me, that's my biggest concern. It does not seem like the numbers were that massive today. And I think if any other time it should have been massive, I think this is one of the times I would have thought that it would have been massive. And if you still have Dr. King's son showing up and the elders showing up, I think that and because back then it was the young people showing up, that was who the catalyst was for while the older people were orchestrating, it was civil rights was mostly young people.
Yeah, but Donna, and I don't mean this as a knock to Dr. King's son, Martin Luther King the third. I really don't mean this as a criticism to him, but I'm not sure how much his voice, his leadership resonates with our community. I'm not sure. It might resonate with a certain part of it. I don't think a lot of people, but in my opinion, I don't think people really know him like that. understand where he stands like that. But I might be wrong. I might just not be looking in the right places. That's the sense that I get.
And Chris?
Yeah, I think it's important to, like, when looking at the history, is like what I think what young people are also looking for today, and what they're looking for in the 60s was like also something to vote for. I think when people were fighting for the right to vote, they knew what they were voting for when they would go to the ballot box. You know, they knew what kind of policies they wanted. They knew what kind of organization was supporting the, you know, policies that they're, you know, going to vote for and vote on. And they knew that was the reason why they were being kept from the ballot box. Today, a lot of that is not there, and I think a lot of young people are seeing that they're being told to vote sometimes on like a legacy aspect, but they don't know what they're voting for. You know, if they're just voting for Trump not to be in office, while someone named Kamala or Biden can bomb Iran or Syria, then they're not voting for something. They're voting against something. And I think it goes to Dr. Kelley's point, where there's not that level of organization where they know what policies and they know what kind of organizations they're, you know, actually advocating for when they go to the ballot box. And so I think that plays a lot into like the disenchantment and why you might get certain statements of, oh, well, I just don't want to vote for anyone that's old, or, you know, things like that, because they just don't, you know, they're constantly told to vote out of a sort of guilt complex as opposed to sort of proactive meaning to it.
And I don't want to romanticize the past, so forgive me if I do. If it sounds like it, correct me if it sounds like I am. But I think during the 1941 March on Washington movement and during 1963, the lead up, there was a lot of grassroots mobilization. There was a lot of political education. There was a lot of door-to-door, you know, people touching each other's hands, getting to know each other. That's not going on today. And one of the things I say that the lessons that we didn't learn from the 60s is the organizing that a group like SNCC did, and that we really don't have that anymore to that degree. You have it in some pockets, but you don't have it to that degree. So I think conversations that need to be had aren't being had, and we've become very performative. You know, today I just really felt disconnected from the march today, even though there's some people there that I really respect. In terms of what they do and the kind of work they do. Janae Nelson and Damon Hewitt, I respect them a lot. I respect the work that they do a lot, and others. I just felt like I just felt disconnected from it. And I think the people there, the people who didn't show, felt disconnected, because I don't think the work is being done to really get into communities, really communities that we really need to get to. And today felt like a certain class-driven agenda, more so than anything else.
That's a mouthful.
So
why am I quiet?
Well, I think, so the March on Washington, because as I went back and I know I made a post, the actual theme was about economics and jobs in 63. And one in 63, economics and jobs. So I think it's the irony of that it would have been such a timely thing to be about economics and jobs today, right now, as well as we're looking at AI, you know, coming in, and maybe as a bigger community, we're really not prepared as to what AI is going to mean, good, bad, or indifferent, you know, in terms of jobs, and then the economy. And also, like you said, the organizing. I think if there's a message, and to Chris, I see voting against, that's probably what people are being told to vote against. And there needs to be more organizing as to what are our top platforms or why you need to vote. We're literally, less than 60 days away from the deadline to register to vote in November. And if people aren't motivated by now, I am concerned what the November race is going to look like. That the Republican Party is very good at what they're doing in terms of wearing everybody down. So I know for me, I don't like this inner fighting, between, the Democrats from DSA to the, to the other end of what the Democratic, we need to get in there, have, and that's one of the things that I was very pleased with when Bernie Sanders ran. And then after he did not get the nomination, what he was able to do was go into the Democratic convention and change the focus of the Democratic convention. And I think, the fighting was, if it was any fighting, it was in-house, and he was able to bring, policies and other more, to the left. And I think we need to get back to business.
I think that for me,
Mm-hmm.
probably the best essay that speaks to right now is Ta-Nehisi Coates's uh, Vanity Fair essay on did Gaza cost Harris the presidency?
And you know
And
my position on that.
you said what?
You
Oh,
know
of
my
course, right?
position on that. I've been
Uh,
saying it.
right. And I think that he goes deeper into it, not just being about Gaza, but about being about the inversion of the history and the politics and the values that are rooted in civil rights. Those values were not just to do well for black people. And I think that after the civil rights movement, I think that there's a large black middle class that became comfortable. And I think this is a theme throughout post civil rights, right? You have it in Newark, where you have Gibson, who is elected but then famously betrays Amiri Baraka and the people who were behind him, and gets a white police chief, and so you have the black middle class and racist white people uniting so that they keep their respective positions, and you have and so being so bad that Amiri Baraka was like, I need to become a third world Marxist as opposed to a black nationalist, right? Thinking that the class, like there were certain that if you don't deal with the class elements that are within the black community, then you have, like, in terms of what it means. And I think I see this now because, like, the people who are calling them democratic socialists are really just like, it's like just, it's not that radical. It's not more radical than like civil rights both at home and abroad. It's Martin Luther King who spoke out against Vietnam. And one of the things that he writes about in the article is that you can't be for equality and civil rights at home and for empire abroad. Like, those struggles aren't different struggles. And as you know, Dr. Kelley, like, this has gone back to Du Bois. It goes back earlier, right? To us understanding that empire is bad because empire is bad. And he talks about the conundrum of becoming president. He also talks about all of the advances under Susan Rice and Harris and the black women who were in the Biden administration did to actually do things that increase black wealth. So they did, for the first time, actually have policies that actually worked, right? They didn't run on it, but they had policies that worked for our community. But it, but he concluded that that can't ever be enough. It is not enough to say, vote for me, I'm a Democrat, vote for me because of, like, black women and politics and the identity politics of that day. But if you're not standing against empire, if you're not standing for something more greater than your own social interest, then why are you here? Like, he asked that, and the last part of the essay is like, then why are you here to begin with? And I think that
Who's
that,
the author
for
again?
me,
Who's the author?
that's Ta-Nehisi Coates,
Oh,
right?
Coach. Yeah, yeah.
Coates, yeah. And because he says the Democratic Convention, he talks about the all the Fannie Lou Hamer, who was like the patron saint of the convention, right? Everyone was talking about Fannie Lou Hamer, but Fannie Lou Hamer was fighting for justice at home and abroad. She also opposed the Vietnam War because she understood that militarism couldn't survive or be consistent with the civil rights of black people at home. And I think that there's a loss of that. So when you have the new civil rights, to me, it's just reactive. Whereas these conservatives have been plotting and planning for years, since the civil rights movement, to get rid of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, the 1965 Voting Rights Act, the 1965 Immigration Reform Bill, which now I am like more recently considering as one of the most important pieces of legislation of the civil rights movement,
And
because
the white
that
supremacy
actually
and
changed.
immigration, it was important.
Right, because it actually changed, it changed the color of the country. It is why people are talking about like replacement theory. The before 1965 immigration, between the late 1800s and 1965, immigration was largely white, and it propagated whiteness. It was there to increase the number of white people in the United States over WASP, right? Um, which is why Irish became white in the 30s and 40s, and Italians became white, and arguably Jews became white, right? Like there's a process by which like whiteness changes over time and increases its membership. There is, even if it's conditional, sometimes they increase their membership. Like Arabs were considered white in the 50s, but not so much by the late 70s, right? But when you're looking at black people, specifically middle class black people, as we come to power, notice how there's a tension between the black community, like older members of the black community especially, and the quote democratic socialist. And I'm like questioning on that why. And is that because like, part of, for years I was like, well, Bernie Sanders needs to learn how to talk to black people better, which is probably true, right? But I think that there's also a point at which the critique of the black middle class has been a criticism of you got comfortable and you thought this thing was over and you moved to suburbs and you got acclimated within society and you became a part. Like what I always have conversations with students who are fighting for things, and it's like, are you fighting to become part of the system of privilege, or are you fighting to overturn a system of privilege? And I think that we can't talk about reactions to what's going on now without coming to real terms that many of us have fought simply to become a part of that system of privilege. And that is why there's a disconnect to when people are talking about single payer healthcare, Medicare for all. Why is you as a black person against that? That is part of the civil rights tradition. Like when people are like the democratic socialists aren't, to me they're not that radical. I've always said this is like just going back to what social policy was in the 50s for white people, as in college was paid for, there was a 90% tax bracket, so that they paid, so that if you're very rich, like you won't have enough. And because they had to go through this before, right? Like in the 1900s, up until the 1920s, there were white people who were so rich that they could dominate everyone else, and there was like, maybe that's a problem, maybe they shouldn't have that much power, maybe we should tax them down so that they don't have that unlimited power, right? So you have a concerted effort, really since Roosevelt, for the very wealthy to push back and be like, we want that level of power, we want that level back. And I think that when black middle class comes in, post civil rights movement, post being able to integrate into spaces that we were excluded from, I don't know if the same ethos, the ethos that got us civil rights, was the ethos we kept in the 70s and 80s, or we would have not stopped organizing in ways that we were organizing. We would have understood that these things are not like we get to this goalpost and now we're free. we would realize that there's this constant back and forth. There's this constant level to which, like, white supremacy in society won't stop. And just because we're invited into certain circles now doesn't mean that we collectively are free, especially when we know, like, the 80s was full of, like, that class stratification. So many people were dying of drug addiction. Like, we had legislations, we passed national legislation that created a whole new class of criminal, right, in terms of that prison industrial complex. And the calls for that, like, if you look at the history of that, a lot of the calls for that crime bill, that 1994 crime bill, didn't just come from Biden, didn't just come from Clinton. They came from Charlie Rangel. They came from black mayors, right? They came from people who should
Black,
have known better,
Blackness
but
Leadership.
they were thinking, right, they were thinking not on that civil rights line, but on that we are comfortable now line. Even though these things are scary, and crack was scary, and it
Yeah,
worked
and
in spades.
I think it was fair because I can remember being in a meeting, when Congressman Payne, um, and this was early DiVincenzo when Congressman Payne was introducing it, and I can remember the seniors in my community being very fearful of the crack epidemic. So I think it was a lot of fear
But it
of
was
what was going on.
fear combined with a lack of knowledge about and increased trust of what the state could and should do. Like if we followed our civil rights ethos, and there were a lot of people at the time yelling, screaming, right? Like, and Ketchy Taifa was one of them. I read one of her old essays where she was talking literally about the crime bill and was like, "Y'all making a mistake. You are creating a whole class of people who are gonna get criminalized." But we, in our middle class selves, who were fully integrated and thought we had the fruits of society, believed that we were included in the policies as were written, and that they would only get the massive drug dealer who was killing everybody, right? Not everybody in your community gets
By the
criminalized.
way, that bill was signed on Omia's birthday to send a message to him and our political prisoners as well. It was a tool of repression. Go ahead.
Right.
You know,
And many people
you
saw it as a tool
Just
of the
bringing it
repression
back to
at
the
that
black
time.
office and political.
So when I'm
Go ahead.
looking at the March on Washington today, when I'm looking at, like, people coming down and they're marching, and it's really just to get the Democrats to do well in the midterm, so it's a big election rally. But there's no civil rights legislation that's being talked about. There's no, like, thing to press, or what you were talking about, pressure points or leverage. Like, I think that in different
Or the
states there are
John
things.
Lewis Act, but they're not talking about it. Yeah.
Right. But I think that, like, in Tennessee, I think that there's some particular fights going on in the southern states that got rid of the black southern district, the black elected official districts. Then I think they have local reasons to come out and vote in their protest vote, to vote massively with as many black people as they can to change the complexion of the state. Because a lot of the reasons why in these southern states they're doing this to begin with is because there are exceptionally high populations of black people in these states. The highest population of black people, and, like, percentage wise, is in Mississippi. Second, Louisiana, right? Like, in terms of just by percentage of the population, right? And you've got Alabama with incredibly high populations of black people. They just don't vote or have been excluded from the vote because of intense criminalization, as in Louisiana. Louisiana has one of the highest rates of disenfranchisement in the United States, right? And these things are deliberate, like prison disenfranchisement, to take away your right to vote. So they knock down the numbers in those states. So I think that those states are starting to realize that there's actually black political power within those states. And once they start taking over state legislatures, then it's going to be a problem, right? But I think that locally is a thing, but nationally there's nothing, right? Nationally we're mad and reactive, and nationally, I think that I think that middle class black people are more upset at the loss of their privilege than they are at the loss of rights for everybody. As in, there has to be like, I think that a lot of the politicians I admire know better. Like when the mayor fights for undocumented people or our congresswoman fights for undocumented people, I think they get it. Our rights and everybody's rights are all intertwined. When we're talking about protesting the war in Iran, right? Because that's just murder for no reason. We're protesting that level of militarism. We're protesting like giving unlimited amount of weapons to what is charitably called mass murder in Gotham. Charitably called mass murder, right? When we have a guest on our show who says, I lost 200 family members, in the last few months. And
Right.
he's not saying that. He is not saying that to start off the conversation. That's just an incidental to the conversation because he's just trying to explain why his sister went out to protest, why she was feeling bad, why she was sad, why she wasn't trying to tear down anything, right? But she was traumatized by the deaths of 200 family members. So what does she do in response? She goes out and peacefully protests. She goes out and speaks out against the war because
Jonathan,
we had to stop him. Like what?
Jonathan, this,
200?
but Jonathan, this is, but to me, it's things aren't black and white, and things aren't easy all the time. So even if we go to the example, so first let's just go through it real quick. When we look at who black people have supported for in electoral politics in terms for the president, who they voted for and stuff, who should we have voted for? That could have won. And I think that's a practical decision that a lot of activists and leaders made throughout our time here. Not only who is the, so oftentimes we do what Jesse Jackson said, we hold our nose and go to the polls.
Right.
It's not that we love these candidates, but we say this person has the best chance to win, and they are not going to do what this person does. Second, when I'm saying you have to be more nuanced, when I say things aren't as black and white, we should criticize the United States and Israel for what they're doing in Iran. But we should criticize Iran too. We should be clear, we're not supporting the Iranian regime. It's a repressive regime. It's a repressive regime, and I don't know why a lot of people on the left don't want to say that. They killing people. They killing a whole lot of people. So just because you criticize just because you criticize Iran doesn't mean you don't criticize. Doesn't lessen your criticism of the United States and Israel.
That is true.
Matter of fact, when the Iranian regime took power, one of the first groups they went after was the leftists.
Right.
They went after the leftists. They killed the leftists.
Right.
In the early 1980s.
Because they were secular. Right.
Yeah, they killed them because they were communists and to the left and all that kind of stuff. Right. So we have to be clear about this. And the same thing when we say we stand with Palestine, we stand with the Palestinians. That doesn't necessarily mean that we like everything Hamas has done, because Hamas has been repressive, and people don't want to say that.
Well, I think people feel comfortable saying that. I do think
people don't feel comfortable saying it, but this is I think what Kamala and the Democratic Party should have said, and they don't have the courage to say. You could criticize Trump, you could criticize Israel, and you could stand with the people in Palestine. You could call it genocide, and you could criticize Hamas.
But Professor Kelley, is there also a question that we have to have, that America, and is everybody not seeing this, is not ready for a woman president? I think I think many of us are, but I think had you put Trump up against any other, he went up against Biden and he lost. You know what I'm saying? So I think it was when he won against women. And that's because it's a conversation that America needs to have about women leadership too. And it was brilliant women that he went up against. That it was a no-brainer.
I do, Donna. I do think there's truth to that. But if we're being honest, the Democratic Party itself wasn't that excited about Kamala Harris. But behind closed doors, they were hoping that it could have been somebody else. And some of them kind of even said that, and you could tell by the comments and things like that way that they want to say it, but they didn't want to come out and say that because they didn't want to piss black people off. But that so I think there was a lot of factors to unpack with that. But I do think clearly this country has problems with women leadership, clearly, and it always has. But I just think that we need to be a little bit more honest about something. We clearly should be anti-imperialist. We clearly should be anti-empire. We clearly should be anti what the United States and Israel doing. That's no question on that. But we have to be honest about some of these other regimes, what they do to their own people.
Right.
Chris is chomping at the bit. Chris is chomping at the bit.
Put stuff in the chat that can't nobody see. Talk, Chris.
All right, Chris.
I just think that at the hour that we're at, this is not necessarily leaving a whole lot of space for a really honest conversation in terms of like bringing up whether we got to criticize other regimes or not. I think that we should probably pivot to a conversation of political prisoners, if that was a topic that was intended for like myself to be on, and just to like respect that amount of time.
So pivot. Go ahead and pivot.
Well, I got to see a question first.
Well,
you might get your hand. It's hot.
Yeah. So and it actually goes directly into what we were talking about, and what did they talk about political prisoners at the march?
Hell.
Did they talk about like do they talk about?
Again, that's the thing. So I think that's also the thing that you kind of brought up is like some of these topics or like demands become kind of tangential to what would be mass policy demands, you know, in this sort of context of like a civil rights march. Why, you know, again, like the fact is when you're in the United States, you have more freedom to talk about alleged political prisoners in another country that the U.S. is bombing and sanctioning at the same time than you do to talk about political prisoners within the United States. So, you know, I would only disagree just because the politics of my organization is a little bit different. You know, we're not DSA, we're not the sort of, you know, social democrat left. We are primarily coming from a different tradition, mentored by folks that were in the Black Panther Party, and that's why the focus of our program on Sunday is going to be fundraising and letter writing to 3 Black Panther Party veteran political prisoners.
Who we're now calling the Panther 3, yes.
Yeah, Mumia, Kamal Sadiqa, and Kenny Zulu Whitmore. And yeah, so I mean, the politics of those 3 people are also pretty well pronounced and also defined, particularly when it comes to like issues like Iran. And so, but again, these are some things that we want to do an event like what we're doing, where it is a cultural event, because we don't want it sort of sidelined or, you know, tangential to the sort of public imagination. You know, we want this like in the community and like in people's consciousness, so it's not just something that people visit, you know, whether they're in an organization, a lot of times there's different mass organizations on the left that visit the issue, or they call it an issue of political prisoners maybe once a year. Or, you know, a lot of people like in communities don't really know how to get involved. So we're really making that type of effort to like move towards that. And also connect to some of our like community initiatives, like the sort of mental health awareness things that we're supporting in honor of Andrew Washington.
Who was killed by the police 3 years ago yesterday. So to sum up quickly, go right into it. What's going to happen Sunday, when, where, who? Go ahead, lay it out.
So Saturday, there's an event, Mental Health Awareness Day for Andrew Washington, 1 to 5 p.m. on MLK and Virginia Ave by the light rail station in Jersey City.
That's being done by his family, by the way, yes.
Yep. And on Sunday, our Black August program is 4 to 9 p.m. At 370 Pacific Ave in Jersey City. There's a place called Neighbor Studio. And we will have Panther veterans and Cubs represented, you know, and some local artists also performing, and local vendors as well.
Straight ahead, and thank you for that, Chris. Thank you for that. So Chris, now you got the mic. It's hot now, right? Right?
Did you shut us down, Chris? Keep it going.
you got dead faithfuls like Madam Donna and whatnot, right? What can you say to these old heads up in here? Because they're old heads to you.
These
right?
wise heads.
Right? What can you say to these old heads that they're missing about young people and their disconnectedness to what's happening right now in terms of the ballot and the kind of things
I think you said it in the beginning, but go ahead.
I don't know. I think that's kind of difficult to like make a concise point on. I think that there's a few different aspects. I think that a lot of young people get attracted to like the DSA left because they see it as the most radical option from a voting perspective. I think that a lot of people become more attracted to like community organizing and community-based initiatives that have sort of an effort to build a foundation around not just a radical politics, but like a more like defined radical politics. Like, again, if we're talking about people that were mentored by the Black Panther Party, we are talking about folks that to some extent either adopted like a Marxist-Leninist or scientific socialist politics as a foundation. And so when we're talking about that, we're just talking about, you know, sort of organizing at a grassroots level. And, you know, there are obviously a lot of history in the United States of like the problems with that and the differences between, you know, the white left and the black left and, you know, the colonized left in general. But I think that what ends up missing and is also on community organizations themselves and younger people themselves to like build in the first place.
Yes. Thank you for that.
Is also to just, you know, connect with those sort of projects or processes in like local areas that can connect people to their radical history, but also connect people to, you know, what does grassroots organizing in that area look like? And what are the needs and interests of a community? Again, the need and interest, again, when it comes back to that thing around voting, is like it can be tied to that. And I mean, there's a good Bobby Seale speech where he talks about like, you know, politics doesn't necessarily start with a seat in the assembly. I mean, it's related to it, but it doesn't start there. So, you know, whatever the need of the community or like, you know, subset of the community is, whether it's housing, a food desert, you know, trash on the street. You know, when we talk about how chapters of the party started, they started with different needs. You know, what people started with in Los Angeles was not the same as Oakland. It wasn't the same as Newark. It wasn't the same as Harlem. What the Young Lords started with in Chicago was not the same that they started with in East Harlem. So it really is like kind of, you know, it's really based on those local conditions. And I think that, I guess, a lot of, older generations also need to sort of engage in that process of also like learning their own history that might have been fractured in their times as well.
You took the words out of my mouth on that one, because I mean, you know, that you raised some things in what you just said that made me think, of course, of the challenges of the split that took place within the party, right? I'm a cub of the New York Reds, right? And we know where New York went in terms of the split. But at the same time, I can remember being energized and inspired by Bobby's run for mayor. Damn near won, right? And what that meant on a practical level, you know, on the ground. And that there's, you know, why couldn't there be a synthesis of both in a practical way to make that happen? You know, so that, you know, there are hard conversations we need to have with them, and then there are hard conversations we need to have with us, and we need to not be afraid of them. What say y'all?
I think you're right, and I think the gaps need to, as Professor Kelley just said, we need to stop being afraid to address, quote unquote, the elephants in the room, and just have conversations and not talk at people and meet people where they are. And I think that's very important, because sometimes I just think people are so frustrated that they throw their hands up. And if you just, you know, begin to talk to people, meet people where they are, and begin to one thing at a time, you know, that's how you build relationships, and oftentimes you can walk together to the polls. But I think voting is very, very, very important. And I don't want everybody to be so disgusted and fed up that they don't participate.
I think if we're going to be if when we look at being progressive or radical or whatever, there's different ways that we look at things. If we're thinking about electoral politics, if we're thinking about a national election, um, we have to be honest about what are the chances of how far to the left can someone be and be a viable candidate for the presidency. So far, when we look at history, we had Eugene Debs had 6% of the vote in 1920. Lafayette had, I want to say, a little bit more than that in 24. Then if you look in 72, McGovern had, I think McGovern may got the votes, but he still was blown out by Nixon. Then if you look at the attempts to form third parties, you look at even during the March on Washington, William Worthy and Conrad Lynn were talking about the Freedom Now party. They were announcing that there was going to be an independent black political party that Malcolm X and Klieg and those folk in Detroit supported. So a Freedom Now party, all right, which were running candidates at the local level. But not for the they didn't have a chance to win the presidency. So I think we have to look at all these different efforts that people have had, third parties, socialist, Democrat, because the Democratic Socialists of America, we're talking about them a lot, and we should, but we got to be honest too. They've been losing a lot too. They've won in certain places, but they still losing. And do they have a candidate that could win the presidency? I seriously doubt that. There's nothing that's happened recently to suggest that they could win. And I think we got to be honest about that. But all those things take, study and analysis and honesty. But I think oftentimes people operate from a line and defend that line rather than deal with the objective facts on the ground.
Yeah, I think ultimately, if you're talking about, I think that we're talking about multiple things in here. Like, one was, because my point wasn't so much as electoral politics, but it was more of meeting the moment where we're in. How do we get there? And it took time, right? And I think that it took a lot of time with our politics not being like being stratified by class. Like, I I would, I think that there are questions as to whether the black middle class in political power has been consistent with the things that got us that political power, which was the point of the Coates article, right? Like, it's like we fought to get access, but it had to be about more than access. We fought for justice, and we fought for a larger sense of rights overall. And I think that if we are honest, we accomplished comfort. Like, black middle class is probably the most comfortable since Reconstruction, right? And I think that comfort,
Until Trump attacked
without
DEI.
organ, without that comfort, without organizations that are rooted in social justice, which is why when you know, I think that in order for Harris to have won the election, she needed overwhelming amounts of support at Obama levels of excitement. And the excitement has to be built on something real. I think that she got more votes than Biden did in many of the swing states. She outperformed him in many of the swing states. I think that there was a big white wave because there were a lot of people who were excited about. I always say Trump is the white Malcolm X, and he excited his white base in ways
Make
that
me throw up now.
overwhelmed inside of those particular swing districts. I think the loss in Michigan was, I mean, you can't tell whole groups of Muslims that you don't matter. We can't even have you speak at a convention. You can't talk.
Suicidal.
And then want excitement, right? Like, the level of excitement she needed was enthusiasm. You believing something real. Like, that's the people believed Obama was real when he was running, as in there was a little hope factor. Trump has a little hope factor for white nationalists. Like he means a lot. Trump means a lot to a lot of people, man. They he could do all kinds of blasphemous stuff and get away with it because his
Yes,
support
boy.
is on the level of religion, right? But because there's a different level of, like, we're not just rational as human beings, we're also emotional. We also have these like there are different layers to us, and um, I think that in our politics, I think in black politics, I think there has to be a spiritual element of our politics. That spiritual soul element of our politics, I think that, like, I love black liberation theology because I think it kind of gets more to it. I think it gets more to, like, our understanding that we fight for justice, we fight against empire. And it doesn't mean you can't be comfortable and have integration in various ways, right? Like, there are these contradictions that are probably there, right? But it can't be one without the other. You can't be like comfort, but no spiritual element that understands what justice is. And I think that that's part of that disconnect. Like, it's not just like voting isn't just a rational calculation, and maybe it should be, but it's not. It's at best politics is rational and spiritual and emotional at the highest levels. If you're trying to really change something, trying to really do something, um, it's part of the reason why people aren't like they don't believe in electoral politics because it is just a thing that and you can get real nihilistic about it, and you're not necessarily wrong in the way that most politics is done. So people are like, the organizing, all the other stuff has to come from elsewhere. I think that saying vote because people sacrificed is just not a persuasive argument to anybody who doesn't vote because they're like, okay, but we're not fighting for the same things. We're not organizing on the same things, and it just doesn't move anybody. Like, anytime it's said, people are like groan. They're like, oh, like, and I think that's a generational divide. I think, like, we respect eyes on the prize, but yeah, I, I think that I think that we have to. Um, I think if we want our politics to be different, I think we have to call it out that why our politics is deficient in the way it is, and then go from there.
Well, Jonathan, I want you to know, per the chat, I want you to know we see an AI vision of somebody on 1600 looking like Malcolm X. That they heard it first here on all politics and local, because you put it out there. Okay, I just want you to know that that you can't be putting stuff out there like that. All right, so be careful.
That's all right. I think it's
As
true.
we
I think
Okay,
it's.
before
I
we go,
think
let me
Trump
just
is
ask
white
this one
people's
question.
black shining white, black
Oh,
shining
please,
manhood.
Lord, please stop. Right. Kelly,
They believe in him.
Kelly, what is this current crop of your students thinking these days?
Interesting. So I'm teaching an intro class, but I'm also I teach an intro class to Africana Studies, and that class is has a lot of different nationalities. And I also teach a class at SCI Phoenix State Prison on Fridays. And of course that class is older and much more knowledgeable about history and politics. So there are definitely differences. Generally speaking, when I was teaching before Trump was elected, before the election, students were not feeling, of course, the Democratic Party. They were critical of Biden, very critical about Harris. I disagreed. We had interesting dialogue in the class, and that's what you're supposed to have. You're supposed to have debates. And
Right.
one of my professors always said that the students should always be more radical than the professor. So it shouldn't be the other way around. But I don't know where students stand right now in terms of going up into the midterms. I think there's still some disappointment with the Democratic Party and the leadership in the Democratic Party. I'm not so sure how. I haven't heard students so far, but we only just had our first day of class this week, so it's going to be interesting. But so far, just given the discussion, it doesn't seem like DSA is on people's hearts and minds.
And I'm just saying, we got so into this discussion that I lost track of time.
Yeah. So before you do, Jonathan, before Chris signs off, Kelley, the persons behind the wall that you are talking to, I would love for you to come back, because we work with a great group of returning citizens here, and the work that they're doing in terms of restoring the vote, getting voted, the ability to be a part of juries. They're doing tremendous work, housing and all of that. But one of the things I've been reading other than Maine and Vermont, there are a lot of interesting pieces of legislation coming out about people behind the wall and restoration of votes. So I would love to hear if they're staying on task with what's going on in that world. And then I just want to say, we know the tragedy that happened in Nepal. And we also know that there was a big group from New Jersey visiting when that tragedy happened. And in fact, they were in that building that the mud went right over. So All Politics Are Local wants to send our thoughts and prayers out for the families. As a matter of fact, our neighbors, Bloomfield, there are 2 people from Bloomfield that are missing, and we just want to continue to keep them thoughts and prayers, and we'll probably be talking about it in the weeks to come as things evolve. Thank you. Jonathan?
You go ahead. You might as well go ahead and ask the ritual question and take it out.
Well, I won't, Chris and Kelley, I'll ask, when you're doing the work that you do, as you get ready prepared to go back to school, as you prepare for the Giants to win, Chris, what hip hop artist, individual or group are you listening to?
I'll plug one artist that's actually performing on Sunday. His name is León.
Go ahead, John.
He's from Plainfield, New Jersey. And
okay.
He's considered a Panther Cup as well. So he's
my stuff froze.
Family tradition. I think
okay.
Knows him.
From Plainfield, New Jersey. Okay. And what's the name again, Chris?
León.
Okay. And Professor Kelley?
I've been going back to my roots and listening to Chuck D a lot lately, because I hear all these people been talking about who's the greatest rappers of all time, and they never mentioned Chuck D. That kind of annoyed me. I've been going back listening to Chuck.
I got so much trouble on my mind. Refuse to lose.
Well, don't forget all this. While we're here talking right now, 24 hours of peace is going on. It is streaming live. So, Chris, on your way in, swing by Halsey and Market and swing by 24 hours of peace. It is streaming live, too.
Hey, Jonathan, you know what about that Welcome to the Terror Dome? In 1990, me and my friend got beat up by 10 police officers.
Wow.
And we got thrown in jail for disorderly conduct. And when they started asking us a name, we started singing Welcome to the Terror Dome. Line by line. The whole song. Line by line. Said the whole song. Man, they looking at me like I was crazy. Oh my God.
Like y'all NWA.
I don't smile in the line of fire, I go wild.
I go wild.
The drugs, even violence. And it's so funny.
Get your head ready. I get it physically sweaty. I never get mad. Put it down on the pad.
Put it down on the pad.
Give me something
that you never had. You're right. All right, we old, but that's it. All right. Oh, that was great. So, everyone, thank you for all of our guests that came on tonight. That the disciples, Reverend Rountree, for your wonderful tour that you always give. We always appreciate you, and that pie place that's open looks great on Halsey and Brantford during 24 Hours of Peace. Big shout out to 24 Hours of Peace that's going on right now. Big shout out to Hakeem Green, to Minnie Baraka, to all the people who are involved in making that happen every year. Big shout out for MC Light, who is performing tonight. Big shout out for Goke, who was performing earlier this hour. Hopefully, I mean, he might be just about being done right now. So big up for all the 24 Hours of Peace. Also to the Superintendent of Newark Public Schools. Thank you again for coming on our show and talking about what's going on in Newark Public Schools and answering lots and lots of questions. Also, big thanks to you, Dr. Kelley, Dr. Kelley Harris, and also Chris Duran
Dr.
for
to be
coming.
Chris Duran.
I'm sorry, what?
Dr. to be Chris Duran. He's
Oh,
working
okay,
on
Doctor to be Chris
PhD.
Duran, right? PhD candidate. All right. So thank you all for coming on the show tonight, and we will see you soon. We will see you all soon. Take care.
All right, you don't stop.